Saturday's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Afghans being resettled in Britain are reportedly bringing more than 20 relatives each, including some previously refused asylum.
Yes, the fallout from that catastrophic Ministry of Defence data breach continues, with 3 UK-linked Afghans reportedly killed by the Taliban in the past week.
Meanwhile, the cost of living crisis rumbles on, with reports suggesting fuel duty could be frozen again.
But as Kemi Badenoch warns, Britain is stuck in a doom loop of rising taxes. Is this all further proof of a government that's completely lost the plot?
Understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
President Trump files a $10 billion lawsuit accusing Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal of defamation over an explosive Epstein-linked story. Is this a fight for reputation or perhaps a media war?
Over 23,000 small boat migrants have already crossed the English Channel this year, and GB News has uncovered a surprising new tactic used by people smugglers.
A young entrepreneur living the digital nomad dream says remote working turned into chaos and she had to ditch it to save her business. So, is 9 to 5 making a comeback?
Crazy!
They've stopped play at Lord's Cricket Ground and sent beachgoers running. Now the swarms are heading inland. We'll find out what's going on behind the great Ladybird takeover.
Good morning. It's a Lions summer, and today the heat turns up for Andy Farrell's side as they face the first test this morning against the Wallabies of Australia in Brisbane. At the Open, Rory McIlroy stays on the coattails of the leaders, and it's fight night for Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk, and 90,000 fans at Wembley Stadium.
Lots of heavy thundery rain, lots of warnings this weekend. The risk of some flash flooding in places. I'll have the details coming up.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News Breakfast.
James, how tall should James Bond be?
How tall should you... well, at least I would say 5'11", at least, yes.
But you see, you can't tell when you film it. I only raise it because it's in one of the papers this morning that a Line of Duty star, who I've never heard of, called Martin Compston...
You must have heard of him.
No.
He's a Scottish guy, but he plays a Cockney.
No.
You never watched it, no?
No. Anyway, he's ruled himself out. I don't know if he was ever in the running for Bond, but he's now ruled himself out, which is a great headline to do, because he's too small. 5'8".
That's too short. I've ruled myself out of Bond as well, funnily enough.
Isn't that like England players when they haven't been picked for 3 years?
Yeah.
So, I'm announcing my international retirement.
Yeah, ruling myself out this one.
But the point is, you don't have to be tall when you're an actor, because they can shoot round it. They can make you look tall even when you're not.
Yeah.
Most leading men are ridiculously small. In fact, viewers out there, you would not know that Stephen Dixon is actually only 5'4" tall.
Incredible.
We have put him on lots
so
of
many
cushions.
Height does matter in James Bond, because when we were at university, we used to play GoldenEye when we had nothing else to do, which was most of the time. And we played GoldenEye, and I was always Oddjob, who was the shortest one of the lot, and he couldn't get hit. And I won all these matches against my colleagues, against my
Is this a computer game?
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go.
I was just wondering why this is like completely different.
Sorry, it's a video game. I think it was on...
Because you see you running around a university campus with a bowler hat on.
Yes.
Remember Oddjob?
I remember Oddjob. He's a great character.
So, no, but Bond should be tall and suave.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Well, yeah, in theory, but I just don't think it matters when you're shooting a film. Because you can say you can shoot round it. But anyway, Martin Compston will not be the next James Bond.
And nor will Stephen Dixon or Aidan McGee. We've all ruled ourselves out of this one. I mean, it's a great way to get yourself into a story, isn't it?
I'm not 5'4", really, just so you know.
5'5.5", actually.
With heels on. Right. Let's crack on
let's
to our main news this morning. And there are new questions over the UK's Afghan resettlement scheme following that major data breach by the Ministry of Defence.
Yeah, going on, isn't it? It follows reports in The Telegraph that one migrant has brought over more than 20 relatives, including some who have been previously refused asylum.
Meanwhile, the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, is accusing the government of pushing Britain into a doom loop of rising taxes, with families being asked to pay more for less.
Sticking with the economy, there's fresh speculation that Rachel Reeves is prepared to freeze fuel duty again this autumn in what's being described as a key part of Labour's cost of living fight back.
Let's talk to political strategist Peter Barnes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Right, let's start with this Afghan
Oh,
situation,
because the gift that keeps on giving.
It really does.
Except, I mean, the problem...
It's not really a gift.
The problem with this is there are also reports on the back of this, as worrying as all this is, there are also reports that at least 3 Afghans who've been linked to the UK have been killed by the Taliban.
Yes.
So we have some sense of responsibility.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. But one thing I will say very early on in this, there is no way a government should ever be able to use the courts and a super injunction to keep information from the public or a select committee or anything like that. That stinks to high heaven. And it concerns me that this might not be the only one. And they covered up £7 billion worth of money. What else have they covered up? That's my concern, and that I think we need legislation to stop it in the future. But what's interesting on this one is, whilst we struggled to define a woman, we couldn't define a family either, because it seems to be everybody you've just run into in co-op. It's absolutely ridiculous.
There's no legal definition.
No, it's again, I think this is what we started to term the tyranny of the vague. In other words, we all say the word, but we all mean very different things by it. So that's allowed the government, and particularly the courts, with the use of the ECHR, to kind of expand this out as far as they like. So it's why you get the chicken nuggets situation, you know, with reasons and rights to family life. It doesn't really mean anything. But, yeah, I have to admit, the fact that some of these people have been denied entry before, it's just one mistake after another, compounded and then doubled down on, because, you know, it seems, like you said, we seem to have left about 75,000 people in Afghanistan who were the ones who actually helped us and the ones who actually were involved in the armed forces and, you know, our efforts there. And they've seemed to have, like you said, we've got these kind of what seems described as murder squads that they lured a 61-year-old grandfather down an alleyway and they shot him 3 times. It is brutal what is happening, and yet the government seems to be more interested in trying to save their own careers and reputations than actually trying to fix any of this. Because Grant Chaps, who disappeared for 3 days, conveniently with his lawyers, you know, that's, I think, you know, couldn't find him. Where's his lawyer? They're never too far apart. But then, you know, I get why Ben Wallace would have brought this in, because there was the data breach, which is a story in itself, one of the biggest ones we've ever seen. You know, that's something else. And also, the person who leaked it is still working at the MOD. How is that a thing?
Yeah.
Why does nobody get fired in this country? What do you actually have to do? Well, you know, it's just ridiculous.
You normally get promoted.
Well, that's true, yeah. What does they always say? Deputy heads will roll.
Yeah.
You know, I think this was the intern rather than anything else. But, you know, it's just, yet again, it is Britain looking like a laughingstock because we can't get our own house in order.
It is worrying, though, as Stephen's just said, about the people that are left behind there. The 2 papers today, the Telegraph on one hand saying, oh, my God, they're bringing 20 relatives in each. Meanwhile, the Mail is saying revenge of the Taliban. And, that you know, in the week that we've learned this information, 3 people have already been killed. So the 2 sides of this story, the people we should feel terribly sorry for. And yet, on the other hand, there are people coming in that, you know, should they be coming in? Oh, yeah. Many of them have criminal records.
Most we don't actually even know anything about. They've just been kind of hopped on the plane as it's been taking off. You know, there were stories of taxis actually driving up to the planes, running out as it was taking off and get on.
There's one line in the Telegraph today, you know, a bloke whose job was to serve tea is in Britain with his family, but the deputy commander of the same Air Force base, actually literally there, on the ground, in the uniform, is still there in hiding in Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's preposterous, but it seems to be that the government didn't get round to doing this because they had this information for 3 years, sat on it, lost it for a year, didn't realise they lost it, found it on Facebook, of all places. You know, this story just gets more bizarre and more just preposterous, but then you realise it's the British government and incompetence, so therefore anything is possible. And, you know, like you said, the wrong people are here and the right people seem to be left in Afghanistan, and there is nothing we can do to help them because of our relations with the with the Taliban, obviously, are null and void at the minute. And, you know, I think Germany has just signed an agreement with the Taliban to be able to send people back. How they're getting around that and the ECHR and Rwanda, there's a lot of questions in that. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one.
Talking about things which are confusing, what's happening back here at home, we've got Kemi Badenoch saying we're in a doom loop of taxes, whilst ahead of the autumn budget, which we know is going to be obviously a lot of tax rises, the Chancellor seems to be saying fuel duty will be frozen again. I mean, fuel duty is a pain to everybody, but at a time when we need to raise money, why is she suddenly announcing that's being frozen?
Because she's a coward. Because she's saying she's making all the big, strong decisions. She's not. This is it's about 850 quid per household, £24 billion we leave sat untouched, and other taxes rise higher because we don't touch this one. If you really wanted to tackle the impending economic crisis that will make 2008 look like child's play, you scrap the triple lock, you scrap fuel duty, and you start going and you tidy up the pensions and raise the retirement age. No political party is going to do that because it's electoral suicide, so we are stuck in a doom loop. But it's interesting Kemi's bringing this up because it's been part of the kind of slow repositioning of the Conservatives' new line, which is fiscal responsibility. That seems to be where she's heading with this, because obviously you've got the Labour Party printing money and spending it and giving it to the trade unions and no idea what they're doing. But you've then also got Reform seem to be playing this kind of populist, we're going to give it to welfare, but we're going to scrap net zero, but then we're going to renationalise some things. They're all over the place on fiscal credibility, which doesn't poll well with the working class communities. So Kemi seems to be sticking on to this because she's also talking about small business reform, VAT reform, corporate tax reform, actual things that we need to make the country more business attractive after this government goes, and we actually need to get businesses back up and running. It's not a bad idea. The problem is the Conservative brand is still incredibly toxic. Let's not forget, debt to GDP was 96%, when Rishi left office. That is astronomical. And, so they're running on something that is right, but they don't really have the credibility to run on it. So we'll have to see whether it works. Hopefully, it is the right thing to do, but I just think she might be the wrong messenger.
With the Express story, as a former newspaper journalist, with the Express story, that is just, it's a bit of a non-story. It's like, anybody could have said that, and Kemi is doing exactly what every political party does when they're in opposition, is pointing out where the party in charge are going wrong. That's
but to be fair to Kemi, though, she is actually giving policies which are financially backed, they are credible. She's got the IFS is on board with some of it. She's actually coming to the table with credibility, which is actually where I think Kemi's got this right, because everybody's shouting at each other. Nobody's got anything to stand on. There's no receipts, as they say. Kemi's coming to the table with the game. And, I actually think when push comes to shove at a general election, or as we get further into this term and the government continues to collapse, she's going to look, or at least the Conservatives, whether she's still there, I don't know, she's going to look like the sensible one. The Conservatives might be the only one credible there. Because, Ed Davies doing somersaults somewhere, so...
Yeah, she does seem quite calm.
It'll be interesting to see. As I say, we need some proper economic strategy from somebody. All right, Peter, thanks very much indeed.
See you next hour.
Yep.
Thank you, Peter. That's Peter Barnes for you there.
Now, let's head across the pond, should we? Because President Trump has filed a $10 billion lawsuit against Rupert Murdoch and two reporters at the Wall Street Journal.
He is accusing them of defamation after the paper published a letter allegedly written by Trump to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, Trump has since called the letter fake and claims the report caused serious reputational and financial damage.
US political analyst Sarah Firth joins us live from Washington now. Sarah, what on earth? Some of the papers over here are describing this as a disaster for Trump. It's the worst thing that have ever happened to him. What's actually going on?
Well, there's been this huge resurgence of interest over the last week in the Jeffrey Epstein case and in the release of those files. Now, it was all sparked by the Department of Justice releasing a memo saying they've gone through the evidence and there is no client list. Now, amongst President Trump's sort of core MAGA base, the grassroots movement that voted him to power, there's long been these rumours and conspiracies around a client list that Jeffrey Epstein held of very wealthy elites in the United States. So that really didn't go down well. And we've really seen that narrative kind of spiral out of control recently and culminating in the Wall Street Journal publishing this letter that they alleged President Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein that was included in a book for his 50th birthday. Now, President Trump said, that's not me. I don't draw pictures. That's not the way I write. It's not the language that I use. And he has now filed that lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch and others. And at the same time, you've had him direct his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to which she's now done. She's filed a court motion to unseal grand jury testimony from the Jeffrey Epstein trial in 2019. And I think the hope there really from President Trump is that he's handed it back over to the Department of Justice, back over to the Attorney General, and it will now be in the court's hands. There's a little bit of a sticking point because grand jury testimony, it's by design secretive. It's meant to protect witnesses, victims in these situations. So it will be up to a judge to decide whether or not the public interest weighs the privacy issues here and whether we'll get those transcripts. And then, of course, guys, it's going to be whether those transcripts actually calm this storm that's happened and satisfy President Trump's MAGA movement when it comes to this call for transparency around the Epstein files.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, as you say, it's the conspiracy stuff which is taking over now, and it's almost going back to that sort of the QAnon stuff that was around 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, and President Trump has really tried to close the chapter on this. He got quite heated earlier in the week, sort of lashed out at his own allies and supporters, really, because this has been his grassroots movement, and it has been some Republicans as well that have been calling for this transparency. They don't want to, or they haven't accepted the narrative that there is no client list. So he sort of lashed out saying, well, this is a Democratic hoax. That's what he called it. And he called people who believed it weaklings. That didn't go down particularly well. Interestingly, though, Stephen, what has played well to the MAGA grassroots movement, and I've been speaking to some people today in the wake of that Wall Street Journal report. You know, we've had President Trump come out and say this is fake news, the fake news media. He's gone in really hard with this fight. He has filed that libel lawsuit, and that has played quite well to his MAGA grassroots crowd. You know, they are very anti-establishment. They are very anti some of the mainstream media, and so that situation has had a little bit actually of a unifying factor, where there was this pretty major divide starting to open up within the Republican Party and within that grassroots movement. So the question now for everyone here in the US is this going to calm down? It has felt like in the last week, the president and the Republican Party have lost control of the narrative a little bit. You know, President Trump has weathered many, many storms, many, many scandals. This one, though, feels a little bit more volatile because it's coming from within his own ranks.
It is interesting that Trump's playbook is normally give you someone else to have a go at, and in this street it is the Wall Street Journal, as you say. The MAGA contingent always wants sort of like mainstream media, you know, the global elite, you know, all those phrases we use without actually quite knowing what they actually mean. But it's given them someone else to focus on hating. It's like, I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, it's no secret that Trump has been friends or was friends with Epstein for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, there's very well documented evidence of their friendship, of the times when they've been at various events together. Then they reportedly had a falling out long before you had Jeffrey Epstein pulled up before the courts and ultimately put in jail and then killing himself in jail. The difficulty with this situation is that what you've got is President Trump, who came back to power, and, you know, amongst the MAGA crowd, as you said, the conspiracy theories, right? They can spiral out of control. And it's everything from legitimate questions right across the spectrum to, you know, sort of wild allegations and speculation and conspiracy. But President Trump really ran on this platform of taking on the establishment again. He promised many times in the lead up to being elected for a second term that he would release the Epstein files. And actually early on in his second term, he brought in a load of conservative bloggers and media and gave them these folders that had Epstein files phase 1. It didn't really have any new information. And so, again, coming back to at the beginning of the week when you had the Department of Justice memo saying, well, actually, there's no client list. There was just uproar amongst his supporters. And for the first time, really, you had those people, those conservative voices, Republican voices, and the MAGA crowd saying, well, no, hold on, we demand some more answers. That's not acceptable. Pretty rare, actually, for President Trump to be so out of step with his MAGA base. But, you know, you're right. As we said, you know, for now, the Wall Street Journal's the new target, and it seems to have taken the heat off President Trump a little bit. But, guys, this story is just rumbling on, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon.
And no doubt we'll be talking to you further about it. Sarah, thank you very much. That's US political analyst Sarah Firth there. Thank you very much.
Right, excuse me, let's have a look at the weather for you today. It's raining first thing this morning, well, down here anyway. Here's Alex Burkill.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of warnings in force this weekend with heavy thundery rain pushing their way in, including an amber warning across parts of the southeast through this morning where we could see almost 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours, so that brings the risk of some flash flooding, some difficult driving conditions as well. That heavy thundery rain is pushing its way northwards as we go through the day, so across parts of the Midlands, eastern England, into northern England and southeastern Scotland as well, we have the risk of some intense downpours. Elsewhere, some drier, brighter weather, but also a scattering of showers, and whilst temperatures on paper are down several degrees compared to yesterday, it is still going to feel pretty warm and humidity is high as well. Then as we go into this evening, well, a lot of that heavy showery rain in the south will have pushed its way across parts of Scotland, particularly central and eastern parts. Aberdeenshire likely to see some heavy downpours later on. Across Northern Ireland, a scattering of showers to watch out for, perhaps a little bit drier towards Belfast in the east. Meanwhile, across northern England, very wet for some, particularly across northeastern parts. A slightly different story further south, across the Midlands, Wales, southern England. There'll be a few showery outbreaks for a little while yet, but also something a little bit drier than earlier on in the day. As we go overnight, kind of two areas of wet weather across Scotland, staying quite wet at times, and then heavier rain pushing in from the southwest as well. In between, though, something a little bit drier, perhaps some clear skies, but because of that high humidity I mentioned, temperatures not dropping much. Another pretty muggy night for many of us, a bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Then as we go through tomorrow, still more rain across eastern Scotland in particular, some high totals continuing to build up, and elsewhere we will see more of that showery rain feeding in from the southwest. Could be heavy, could be thundery again, with some more persistent heavy rain likely to affect some southwestern parts at times as well. Temperatures down a couple of degrees again, but if you get any bright or sunny spells, still feeling pretty warm.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Right, OK, welcome back. Still to come, we'll get the latest on the tax hitting hundreds of tenants. Are you one of the affected? That's next. This is GB News with Stephen and Dawn. We'll see you soon.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here
We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Same difference.
6:26, you don't want to know what she's talking about. Now, it's 12 years since the bedroom tax was introduced, and despite Labour's historic opposition to it, there's been no move to repeal it under the new government.
There's a surprise. The policy affects over 500,000 people, cutting benefits for council tenants if their home is judged to have more bedrooms than they need.
Anna Riley has been looking into it.
Lost, angry, frustrated, hurt. Emotional.
These are the words Sarah Duffin uses to describe paying bedroom tax. Her brother's room in their Hull two-bed council house lays empty after his tragic death, and now Sarah can't afford the extra cost to live there alone.
On the 2nd of May 2025, my brother died. I asked the council straight away to get a direct let sorted to move me to a one-bedroom flat. They don't give a monkeys. I'm left in limbo. It's just the benefits cap is killing me. The bedroom tax is a poor tax and it's killing a lot of people. It's not helping me with my mental health issues. I get universal credit, I get £90 a fortnight, and by the time I pay bedroom tax, council tax, I have maybe £5 left to live on. I want the bedroom tax scrapping. It's a tax that people can't afford.
Every day is a struggle for Sarah. She's been unemployed for most of her life and wants the benefits system reformed.
The asylum seekers coming here, they're getting everything hand over fist. I couldn't get a grant for furniture, carpets, they didn't care. They still don't care. I'm left in limbo to live on nothing. The system is broken. Country is broken because Labour don't care. I've got the qualifications to get a job, but there is no jobs. Because the national insurance hike, the tax hike, is killing shops, it's killing businesses. It's not worth working when you've got nothing to live for.
Hull City Council is currently housing Sarah. The authority said residents who sadly suffer a bereavement which leads to a change in their benefits can access help from the council, including applying for a discretionary housing payment. Where a resident has requested to move to a different property in a different area, the process can take time to ensure the placement of that resident is satisfactory. Delays may occur, especially if the tenant wants to be housed in a specific location where there is no available housing. For now, Sarah lives in hope of being moved so that she can lead a better life. Anna Riley, GB News.
If you've been affected by that, I'd love to hear from you this morning. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Yes, indeed. I always say / You don't like / though, do you?
No, it's not technically right.
But it doesn't matter. It's a Saturday morning. Do I have to be technically right?
Yes. Do you know what really irritates me? That you can still get people who say, like gbnews.com, when actually the dot comes before it, so it's gbnews.com.
OK.
It's not a full stop.
I'll just shut up for the rest of the show then, Stephen, shall I? Because I'm bound to. Something's going to irritate you very soon.
Oh, darling, you never irritate me.
It's not my fault you're short. I know it's a short man's fault.
I'm not... Don't. I'm going to have to stand up in a minute.
He's going to demonstrate his stature for you live on the show at some point.
Thank you very much.
Got some really good heels on today as well. They're really nice, yeah. Jimmy Choo, the boots on.
They're not, actually. I'm wearing... No, never. I'm not even... You don't even need to know. Anyway, look. Now it's time that you could win £54,321. You just need to pay attention to this and you could be our winner.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. That would make a cracking summer for you, wouldn't it? OK, don't go anywhere, because still to come, we've got Aidan McGee with all your latest sporting news. That's next. See you soon.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sunday mornings from 9:30.
She left office 35 years ago, which seems incredible.
God, that makes me feel really old. I remember being at school when she was deposed.
Oh, that makes me feel really old, because I was way beyond school.
Well, I was 47 yesterday, so...
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. Carry on.
Well, so there are 3 generations that have grown up that weren't alive when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister. And there are so many myths that have built up about her that... and part of the reason I wrote it was because my personal trainer, I broke my hip 2 years ago.
Yes.
So I had to get a personal trainer to the rehab. And he's 25, or was then. And when he found out what I did for a living, he said, well, Margaret Thatcher, I've heard of her, but who was she? What did she do? He didn't even know she'd been Prime Minister. And I was like slightly horrified by this. So this is really aimed at those generations. You can't tell every aspect of her life in a book that size, but it really is an introduction to her. And the first sentence says, if you've read Charles Moore's 3-volume biography of her, please stop here. This book is not for you.
No.
So
it's an
covers most of the
introduction to her.
Things.
And by the way, maybe that revelation by your PT does ask questions about the national curriculum and history teaching. They should do a section, shouldn't they, on our first female Prime Minister, arguably. But what's the challenge then when you're writing somebody's life up? I mean, and what a life she led.
Well, I found out that it's much more difficult to write a short book than a long book, because you really do have to be concise. I was told I had 30,000 words. I said, well, that's a pamphlet, not a book. So I stretched it to 45,000. But normally a biography would be 120, 150,000 words. So it really was quite a challenge to condense it all. And what do you leave out? I mean, I wasn't going to do a chapter on Northern Ireland, but as I was writing it, I thought, no, you can't do that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, select week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Aidan McGee's here with all your sport at 6:35. Good morning. Let's talk about the British and Irish Lions, should we?
Yes, they're in action at 11 o'clock this morning down in the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, where Australia haven't tended to do very well over the years, so they're probably not happy with their venue, especially as it's the opener. But look, let's look at the squad or the team. It was named a couple of days ago, an all-Scottish midfield, 8 Irish players in the side. England as well represented. No Wales players since for the first time since 1896, which I find absolutely extraordinary. I certainly think Morgan could have made a call there for getting into the side. This Australia side is, I mean, it's not the era of Michael Lynagh, George Gregan and David Campese, that's for sure. So I expect the Lions to win. There's talk down under that, I mean, the most popular bet down there is it's going to be a whitewash for the British and Irish Lions. And I think to myself, I look at the sides individually if they're broken up, Stephen, with the exception of Wales. I think England would beat Australia. I think Scotland would beat Australia. I certainly think Ireland would beat Australia. So an amalgam of the best players of the 4 nations, all added together, should be able to dispatch Australia quite comfortably, I would imagine. However, the Lions have showed some really good form in the build-up, but again, they're playing local sides who have to give up their best players to Australia because obviously Australia are competing in the 3 tests. Australia's slightly undercooked as well, I would argue. They've only played 1 match, and that was 3 weeks ago against Fiji, since all the way back in November. So I'm not sure what kind of contest we're going to see here, but it's the first time the Lions have played in Australia since 2013, and I think the expectation is the only thing they can lose against today, because I think that ultimately they should have far too much for the Australians. But as I say, 11 o'clock, we're underway.
And the golf is still going on.
It is indeed. Torrential rain there. Scotty Scheffler, the world #1, he's starting to edge out in front, 1 shot ahead of Matt Fitzpatrick. And, you know, he's the world #1 for a reason, despite saying earlier in the week that golf doesn't offer him too much in the way of fulfilment. And when he achieves that kind of consistency, I think he's going to be difficult to stop. Rory McIlroy, who we'll hear from in a moment, says that going into the day 3 and day 4, he has enough behind him to kind of maybe make up the ground in the next couple of days. But let's hear what he had to say now about his prospects over the weekend.
Yeah, another solid day. Couple under, you know, improved a little bit on yesterday. Hit it in play a little bit more off the tee, which was nice to have some looks, you know, out of the fairway and into some of these greens. And yeah, it was a good day. I feel like I maybe could be a couple closer to the lead, but yeah, overall, you know, in a decent position heading into the weekend.
Now, it's fighting talk, Stephen, but he's 7 shots back from the world #1. I think he's got his work cut out trying to claw that back. But look, if he manages to entertain the crowds, he didn't even make the cut last time this event with the Open was at Royal Portrush in 2019. So there's progress there. And who knows, the weather could come into play. He's shown in majors in recent years, or certainly the Masters earlier this year, that he's got enough stardust to be able to make things interesting going into the final 2 days. So we'll see what happens. He's out at 2:30 p.m. and it's a 9:30 a.m. start.
Wow.
Okay, can we have a look at football? Because it's gone mad.
The back pages are just a flurry of numbers that actually have just got lots and lots and lots of zeros after them.
I know, when in my tabloid days, we used to, the oldest trick in the book was sticking some numbers on the back and putting them in gold and hoping that the readers would latch onto them.
Still doing it.
I mean, look, it's 50 days left of the transfer window. We've already gone over £1 billion expenditure. The record is slightly over £2 billion. That was set in 2023. We thought after COVID we'd see the end of these days, but it soon ramped up again, and I think we're going to break the record again. But look what you get for your money. Chelsea have signed Jamie Gittins, an English guy, unknown pretty much on these shores, £51.5 million, 8 goals in 32 games. I'd be expecting a bit more than that for my £51 million. Anthony Elanga, good season at Forest, gone to Newcastle, £55 million, 6 goals in 38. Ooh. Arsenal signed a player from Chelsea yesterday, England international, Noni Madueke. Have you heard of him? Any of you?
No.
All right,
I have, only because I'm looking at the back page of the Sun.
7 goals in 32. I just think these guys 30 years ago would have been worth £500,000.
Yeah.
And I look at it. Normally I stand up for the clubs and say they're doing it for commercial reasons, but most of these clubs lose money. And this is probably why, because overspending on these players. Man United yesterday, £71 million on Brian Mbeumo. He scored a few goals last season for Brentford. He's 25 years old. But hang on a minute, I thought Man United was skint.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
Thatcher's been saying for ages.
Yeah, when they were counting paper clips at one point.
They were, but they still are. Mateus Cunha, £62 million. I mean, they've got the most expensive and possibly the most overrated strike force in the country. But look, I hope it works out well for them. But goodness me, I can't defend these figures anymore. It's going absolutely
bonkers. Absolutely bonkers, isn't it?
All right, Aidan. Thanks very much indeed. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Aidan. OK, still to come, Lewis Oakley and Michael Simmons are here to see what's making the news for you. Give us a wave. Oh, God, they're not very animated, are they? But before that, if you are in search of some holiday sun, here's a forecast for those top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Lots of blue skies and strong hot sunshine around the Mediterranean at the moment. There's going to be a bit of a breeze blowing, however, this weekend, especially for Crete and Cyprus. Maybe 1 or 2 showers inland across Turkey, but again, most of the coast's dry and sunny. Same goes for Italy and much of southern Spain, along with the Balearics and the Canaries. Also set fair. Temperatures in Tenerife close to 30 Celsius. We'll have highs here of 29 for the next few days and similar temperatures in Barcelona.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
.6:44, let's have a look through the papers with economics editor Michael Simmons and the writer and broadcaster Lewis Oakley. Morning to you.
Morning.
Both. Michael, let's start with the Express and this doom loop of taxes which Kemi Badenoch is talking about.
Yeah,
what does she mean?
Yeah, so she's written this op-ed in the Daily Express where she said that
Starmer's come into office, he's sort of tried to get control of the public finances by things like his cuts to the winter fuel allowance, the cuts he tried to do to the welfare bill. But because of his backbenches not allowing him to do any of that, she says that we're now going to be stuck in this cycle of tax rises. I think she's probably right. She's looking ahead to the autumn budget, where because of this black hole we now have, where Rachel Reeves has to find billions and billions of pounds to meet her fiscal rules, it's likely that the thresholds for income tax are going to be held, so more people are going to end up paying tax, more people are going to go up tax brackets. And also she warns that it's likely that pensioners are going to be taxed more than they are now. And she's basically saying that unless Starmer can crack out of this inability to do anything, sort of shrink the size of the state, then we're just going to be stuck in this constant loop of rising taxes.
But why are we in this position then when she's now saying she's going to freeze fuel duty? I mean, look, I do a lot of miles, I get through a lot of petrol, I hate fuel duty. However, if it's a way of increasing tax revenue, which is across the board a bit more, why not?
Well, this is the thing. They always play a bit of a trick with fuel duty. When the OBR sort of calculate how much money the Chancellor has, fuel duty is just always frozen because it's so politically popular to do. And they always say, oh, but next time it'll be unfreezed, and that's where the money comes from. So you would think that given we're in such a difficult position now financially, it would be the time to put it up. But it's just simply, you know, electoral suicide. You lose the motorist bloc because the opposition will just say, oh, no, well, we wouldn't do that, or potentially even we would cut it. But things like this are just not sustainable anymore. It's the same with the triple lock on pensions. You know, it's at some point someone is going to have to commit political suicide to save the country.
I think it's really interesting, isn't it, to see... I mean, she's not wrong. We are in a doom loop, and everything that we've just talked about is correct. But it's interesting to see how Kemi's trying to sort of carve out a bit of a niche for where the Conservatives can have a platform and what they can even say, because Reform have eaten up so much of what they can even talk about that actually the only thing that I guess they think they can go on is, well, we'd be responsible with the economics. But I don't think many people believe that, so it's an odd line.
Are they coming across as being more economically sensible than Reform, who seem to be promising the world?
Well, this is true. I think that's why they're sticking to this. It's probably the only area that they could say, like, but look, we're the ones that are good with the finances. But I just don't think the electorate views them that way. So she's got to keep banging this drum, which is why that's what she'll keep talking about.
So we're going to have that headline for the next 4 years, basically.
Basically.
Marvellous. Not sure you're helping, though, Lewis. Lewis, let's stick with you, shall we? Front page of the Telegraph. We've talked about it a little bit already. Afghans bringing as many as 22 relatives over.
Well, what about this? I mean, this is such a tricky story, and it's one of those odd ones where sort of, well, both sides are right. I mean, you think about this. Look, if people have helped the British forces, we can't just leave them now that a list has been out and people know who they are. And you can also understand someone saying, right, your name's on the list, so we'll evacuate your family. And them saying, look, but if you evacuate my family, they're going to go after my sister. So, OK, well, let's get you... Well, she's got 3 kids, and then she's got a husband. So you can see how these numbers have gone up. And it's almost, you know, 2 things can be true. It's like, well, look, you're going to have to do that. But at the same time, we can't really up the immigration numbers by 25k as well. And I understand we haven't got the resources, we haven't got the money and all of that. So it's really tricky to even kind of take a side on this. I think that the main thing is the leakers. Who did it? Have they been fired yet? Please tell me they haven't been promoted upwards. Why are they not in jail?
They're still there.
And that is what is really infuriating. I mean, you've put people's lives in danger. If I were to name where you guys lived, I'd be in legal trouble. You know what I mean? That you have put people in actual danger. How can you still even have a job? Why are you not facing a criminal conviction?
What do you make of it, Michael?
Well, again, I agree with Lewis in that we had to do something potentially if these people are in danger, but I don't understand why it had to be covered up for 2 years. You know, initially they said it was just sort of the initial problem out, but it was dragged on for months and months. And also, once the Taliban took over Afghanistan, presumably they had all this information anyway, because they would have got into, you know, the government offices over there and stuff and found these things out. So it seems that there was a point where the cover-up didn't become about saving lives, and it became about protecting the reputation of the government.
Saving political careers.
Exactly. And I think we need some answers to why that went on so long.
But where is Rishi Sunak? Like, someone needs to find him and ask him some questions.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it was Grant Shapps who was the Defence Secretary, wasn't he? Who?
But the buck stops with the Prime Minister at the time.
Well, yeah.
The bloke in charge, evidently. Yes, absolutely.
That's true. Can we have a look, Michael? This is in the Mail. The cost of a family holiday, because it's soaring apparently. But on what are they basing this on?
Yeah, so this is another depressing story for the summer. So this is basically a report that the Post Office puts together, and they look at 10 common items that you might buy on holiday. So a meal out, a bottle of wine, etc. And they add that together, and they've compared the costs over time. And they found that Mallorca is the most expensive place in terms of change. That's gone up 20%. Bulgaria is getting more expensive as well, going up 17%. And they look at 16 common European holiday destinations overall, and 13 of the 16 are getting more expensive. So, maybe this year, if the weather stays warm, it's one for a staycation rather than trip abroad.
I tell you what, it's quite good for like Marmaris though, which I think is the cheapest. So these 10 items, it's gone up 10%, but it's still only £129 compared to 242 for Ibiza.
Well, exactly. They actually point out that Turkey, you can get some of the best deals to go this year, and also the pound's doing reasonably well compared to last year. So maybe you'll be able to buy some more while you're out there. But that said, Turkey's suffering from really high inflation too. So by the time you go, things could be a lot more expensive.
Yeah. I need to...
It's what is interesting about this, though, Lewis, is the fact that a staycation is hideously expensive. I mean, hotels and B&Bs and Airbnbs in this country have all gone up.
I've got young kids, and when they were really young, we thought it was too much to take them on planes, so we did staycations. We actually holidayed in this country, and to be honest, it was only a couple of £100 cheaper than last year when we went to Spain.
Yeah.
To stay in this country. And we don't have the reliable weather in this country. And it's a shame, because I remember growing up and loving the British seaside. Yeah. But now it's all closing down. It's... The expense of it is just too much.
But you're not paying for the flights, and if you go by car, then that saves a whole host of money. And there's a lot to be said for this country. I think we should all get to seaside towns and make the most of it, especially as we're having a very hot summer.
Well, yeah, we've had a couple of heat waves. Hopefully, if another one comes along, otherwise you end up sitting on the beach in the rain, shivering.
Give over.
No,
it's marvellous, and that's part
British
of the fun.
holiday.
If you can't have a bag of chips in the rain on Blackpool front, then something's wrong.
Killer seagulls from hell come and eat chips.
It's not. There's nothing wrong with a few seagulls. Honestly, it drives me mad, the whole seagull thing. If you live by the coast, you get used to seagulls. They're all right. They're not that bad. And everyone goes like... They're not dangerous. Give over.
You don't want your 2-year-olds feeding chips to a seagull.
Exactly.
Everyone goes on so there's some killer birds in the sky. They're seagulls.
I've seen that film. Hitchcock got an entire career out of that film, really.
God.
Come on.
Honestly, let's leave our poor seagulls alone and everyone go to Blackpool or other coastal places.
Or Southend. Yeah, Southend's pretty good.
Lewis, Danny Dyer says working-class people should be running the country. First and foremost, which Danny Dyer are we talking about?
I know. I mean, this is quite an extensive interview with him. So yeah, I mean,
it's him. It's
Daddy Dyer. Daddy Dyer.
Daddy Dyer.
Oh, is that what they call him, Daddy Dyer?
I've just called him that.
Right. So he's got nothing nice to say about Keir Starmer, basically, and he really wants to put the focus back on working people and thinks that Keir Starmer's too far removed from what everyday normal people are doing to run the country, which
it's probably less removed than a lot of politicians.
Well, I think they're all removed. They're all living in, that Westminster bubble. But this is why sometimes I don't think they actually do understand what normal people are talking about.
This cabinet, statistically, is the most working class we've ever had. I think only 2% of them privately educated.
Yeah.
Well, still, it's not working either way. Whoever they've got in there, it's not going well.
No, well, it isn't going well. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because people like Boris were very popular, Nigel Farage is very popular, and they're very well-to-do. Yeah. But they connect with working people.
I think it should just be about who's right for the job, who's the best for the job. It doesn't matter their background.
Doesn't matter how they talk, does it?
All right, you two, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you later. Here's the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of warnings in force this weekend, with heavy thundery rain pushing their way in, including an amber warning across parts of the southeast through this morning, where we could see almost 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. So that brings the risk of some flash flooding, some difficult driving conditions as well. That heavy thundery rain is pushing its way northwards as we go through the day. So across parts of the Midlands, eastern England, into northern England and southeastern Scotland as well, we have the risk of some intense downpours. Elsewhere, some drier, brighter weather, but also a scattering of showers. And whilst temperatures on paper are down several degrees compared to yesterday, it is still going to feel pretty warm and humidity is high as well. Then as we go into this evening, well, a lot of that heavy showery rain in the south will have pushed its way across parts of Scotland, particularly central and eastern parts. Aberdeenshire likely to see some heavy downpours later on. Across Northern Ireland, a scattering of showers to watch out for, perhaps a little bit dry towards Belfast in the east. Meanwhile, across northern England, very wet for some, particularly across northeastern parts. A slightly different story further south, across the Midlands, Wales, southern England. There'll be a few showery outbreaks for a little while yet, but also something a little bit drier than earlier on in the day. As we go overnight, kind of two areas of wet weather across Scotland, staying quite wet at times, and then heavier rain pushing in from the southwest as well. In between, though, something a little bit drier, perhaps some clear skies, but because of that high humidity I mentioned, temperatures not dropping much. Another pretty muggy night for many of us, a bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Then as we go through tomorrow, still more rain across eastern Scotland in particular, some high totals continuing to build up, and elsewhere we will see more of that showery rain feeding in from the southwest. Could be heavy, could be thundery again, with some more persistent heavy rain likely to affect some southwestern parts at times as well. Temperatures down a couple of degrees again, but if you get any bright or sunny spells, still feeling pretty warm.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's completely unacceptable to have a biological man in a female-only changing room. And from my personal point of view, I was abused as a child, and having a man in our changing room is a particular trigger for me. And the trust just did nothing about it, so we had to take things further.
So you complained to the trust about this. You and your colleagues got together, and they just ignored you. They didn't really care about it.
Not a bit. They didn't care at all. We wrote a letter of concern. 26 of us signed it, and the response was that we needed to be re-educated. We needed to broaden our mindset, and they backed this trans person 150%.
So, Karen, this person who identifies as Rose, on one occasion they were staring at you or your colleagues' breasts in this changing room and asking, are you getting changed yet? Another of your colleagues had a panic attack. I don't think it was you. Is that accurate?
That was me.
And what do you make of people who call you a TERF or a bigot for complaining about this kind of thing? Because that's what they say.
They do, yes, but there's been loads of positivity out there for us. There's loads of positive comments, and I'm not a bigot. I'm not a TERF. I'm just fighting for what's right. I want to feel safe when I get changed. Yeah. There's what's happened to me could have happened to other people, and I want to be a voice for them to stand up and come forward and say this is not acceptable.
Karen, you're a brave lady, you and your colleagues, and I'm glad, actually, it was Wes Streeting who intervened in the end, one of the more competent Labour ministers, who told Darlington Hospital, sort this out, pull your finger out, don't be so ridiculous, and he got involved and he sorted it out for you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. Afghans being resettled in Britain are reportedly bringing, in some cases, more than 20 relatives over, including some previously refused asylum.
Yes, the fallout from that catastrophic Ministry of Defence data breach continues, with 3 UK-linked Afghans reportedly killed by the Taliban in just the past week.
The cost of living crisis rumbles on. Reports suggest that fuel duty could be frozen once again.
But as Kemi Badenoch warns, Britain is stuck in a doom loop of rising taxes. Is this all further proof of a government that's completely lost the plot?
Understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
President Trump files a $10 billion lawsuit accusing Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal of defamation over an explosive Epstein-linked story. Is it a fight for reputation or a media war?
And over 23,000 small boat migrants have already crossed the English Channel this year. And GB News has uncovered a surprising new tactic used by the people smugglers.
A young entrepreneur living what they call the digital nomad dream says remote working turned into chaos and she had to ditch it to save her business. So we're asking today, is the 9 to 5 making a comeback?
Crazy!
And they've stopped play at Lord's Cricket Ground and sent beachgoers running. Now the swarms are heading inland. We'll find out what's behind the great Ladybird takeover.
Good morning. It's a Lions summer, and today the heat turns up for Andy Farrell's side as they face the first test this morning against the Wallabies of Australia in Brisbane. At the Open, Rory McIlroy stays on the coattails of the leaders and it's fight night for Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk and 90,000 fans at Wembley Stadium.
Lots of heavy thundery rain, lots of warnings this weekend. The risk of some flash flooding in places. I'll have the details coming up.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Dawn Nissom, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, I don't know if you caught Lee Anderson's Real World last night, but it was a cracker of a show.
I liked his jacket.
He had a great jacket on.
Was it the Union Jack?
It was a Union jacket. He wouldn't be able to wear it if he was at school. Obviously,
no.
Thrown out.
No, absolutely can't do that.
For being too British. However, his show is made up because of the fantastic guests he has on, and I mean, whether you agree with what they're saying or not, they are always fantastic guests, and they give you something to think about. However, last night trumped it all because he had Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, sort of, on the show.
About time 16 and 17-year-olds had a voice, because, as you all know, when you are 16 and 17 years old, you make very good choices.
Really?
And I think that is one of the most important things to think about right now. Well, I'd tell them to think about all the fantastic things that we've been doing so far in a year. Can you believe it? It's hard to believe it's been a year. It's hard to believe. It's been unbelievable, really.
It's been an unbelievable year, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I think we can all agree. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah, it certainly has, yeah.
And we've got some stuff done. First of all, I'll remind them that they've got more money in the pockets right now than they ever had under the previous government. That's one of the most important.
But of course, you've got more money in your pockets as well due to the sale of your council house, haven't you?
I don't think we need to be told. This isn't about. If you're going to talk about houses, let's talk about the houses that I've been building.
People keep saying that you've got the knives out for Sir Keir Starmer. You want to be the Prime Minister. Is that true?
I do not want to be the Prime. I don't know why people keep asking me this question. Our Keir's doing a very good job. He's doing a brilliant job. Yeah. And, you know, I went on Lorraine Kelly and I told her it was very ageing to be a Prime Minister. And, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to insult previous Prime Ministers, I'm sure, but they look lovely. But for me, I feel that it would be very ageing. No, I do not want it.
She is so brilliant.
Intel lady.
Yeah.
She does lots of different stuff, but the Angela Rayner one just sort
of... She really has nailed it, hasn't she? And the fact that she's sitting there in the high-vis vest as well, because politicians never go anywhere without a high-vis vest on these days. It makes them look working class and hard at. And it's like, it's really funny.
It's normally carrying a baby, isn't it, somewhere? Kissing
kissing the baby. That was always the thing back in the day, but now it's all high-vis and hard.
Yeah. It's very good.
Cameron used to roll up his sleeves, wasn't it? When he used to go into industrial factories and that, Roll up his sleeves and give it a bit of that.
I
think so.
mean, it's all spin, but she's a good watch.
She really is. And you know what? I think Angela Rayner, regardless of her politics, would probably find that quite funny as well.
I don't know.
Angela, if you're watching, give us a call. Let us know.
There was the lady whose name I've forgotten. She sadly died not that long ago. Who used to do Nicola Sturgeon.
Oh God, yes.
And she was very good. And Nicola Sturgeon was a big fan, but she wasn't really digging it. She wasn't having a go that much. It was just whereas obviously that's quite vicious.
Well, in the Splitting Image days, lots of personalities said it was a badge of honour if you had a puppet. It meant you were famous.
Well, lots of them brought their puppets when the original Splitting Image shut down. Lots of them brought the puppets.
Luck and Floor.
I mean, you would do, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Would you be a small one or a big one? Remember the two Davids? You'd be a big one.
Yeah.
Well, he was only 5'4" then.
Very tall.
Very tall.
Right. Anyway, enough of all of that. Let's look at our main news this morning. And there are more questions over the UK's Afghan resettlement scheme following that major data breach a couple of years ago by the Ministry of Defence.
Yeah, it follows reports in the Telegraph that one migrant has brought over more than 20 relatives, including some who have been previously refused asylum.
Meanwhile, Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch is accusing the government of pushing Britain into what she's called a doom loop of rising taxes, with families being asked to pay more for less.
And sticking with the economy, there's fresh speculation that Rachel Reeves is preparing to freeze fuel duty again this autumn in what's being described as a key part of Labour's cost of living fight back.
Let's talk to political strategist Peter Barnes. Let's talk refugees.
Yes.
To begin with. What are we to make of this?
Well, first of all, it's chaos wrapped up in hypocrisy, wrapped up in just incompetence. That is generally this story. But yet there is a very serious side to it, where the people who have been left in Afghanistan are being hunted down by murder squads. There is this story. I cannot stress the international ramifications of it are huge, and we really have to knuckle in and find out what really went wrong here and actually hold some people accountable, which we don't do in this country. But I do always want to stress there is no way a government should be able to use a super injunction to keep information from the public. That cannot allow... We can't allow that. Because, one, the courts were furious about having to keep it, and two, it's not right because it's the government putting pressure on the judiciary, and it just stinks to high heaven, and I have a feeling there's a lot more of these knocking around. But if we actually look at this kind of the development of this story, it seems to be our immigration policy is that to like a chain email. If you just send it to 7 people, then you get to come as well. You know, it seems a little ridiculous, to be honest, because 22 relatives, the word family doesn't mean anything. And this is what we've started to term the tyranny of the vague. It's part of this kind of human rights regime dictionary definitions without having a definition. So basically you can then apply it to everything. I mean, it's particularly most prevalent in the ECHR, which is being used left, right and centre to keep people here for family life, which doesn't really mean anything, but we all understand it. And that's where our laws really have gone wrong. But there is so much in this story because the actual leak itself, you know, it's the biggest one in British political history. The information was found on Facebook a year after nobody had noticed it had even been leaked and lost. And then that's when Ben Wallace has gone to the courts to get it all shut down because it's got the names of the interpreters and the people who helped the British Armed Forces in Afghanistan. So I understand why it went down this way, but it should never have been allowed. And it is, yet again, it was scrambling to save political careers, not to fix the situation.
Well, which is surprising in and of itself, because, I mean, Ben Wallace was highly respected.
Yeah, but that's because nobody looked beyond the veneer. This was the thing. I always think this may be the reason he pulled out of the Tory leadership race, because he knew that there was a lot of this stuff underneath, you know, if somebody went digging for it. You know, he'd been around a long time. He seemed a little too squeaky clean, if you ask me.
Ben Wallace has said, though, he would do again exactly what he
Yeah.
did, because he, in his words, saying doing it to protect the people that work with this in Afghanistan. I think Grant Shapps has more questions to answer.
Oh, well, he has more questions to answer than there are questions, really. But it's rather ridiculous because he disappeared for a couple of days, ironically with his lawyers, so that tells you everything. But it's the fact that he was surprised it was still ongoing whilst he was Minister of Defence. Well, he was the one that was applying to keep the super injunction going. It was his department. They were his government lawyers. So for him to pretend or basically lie like he has done here, I think is despicable, but it's Grant Shapps, so it doesn't surprise me, if I'm being honest. I don't particularly rate the guy, and I think he's part of the problem of the establishment and the disconnect between with the public. But, you know, again, this kind of the way the ECHR and the courts and all the rest of it is being weaponised to put Britain's second is evidently clear now. It's evidently the two-tier society is undeniable.
Meanwhile, back here we are in this doom loop of tax rises, according to Kemi Badenoch. Whilst the government says it's likely to freeze fuel duty in the autumn budget as a key part of their strategy with the cost of living crisis, which doesn't seem to make a huge amount of sense to me.
Yeah, because you're looking for sense in this government. That seems to be the problem, because what this is yet again Rachel Reeves being terrified of losing her job, Labour being terrified of the electorate, and also the fact that there's kind of boxed themselves in because they took too many cards off the table before they came into office by having no VAT rise or no national insurance income tax rises. So these are the levers that they've got to pull. But nobody has touched the fuel duty since Osborne brought it in 2011. There is a reason for that. It's because it's a very visual and very kind of real and felt increase in your daily budgets. People notice the price of petrol. It is a thing that people talk about. Nobody looks at the gilt markets to talk about why things are going up. People look at the price of petrol, the price of food. That's why these things are really important, and governments are very aware of it. And unfortunately, Rachel Reeves is doing this because she's too scared to actually cut welfare, but she ended up costing us more. She didn't tackle the pensions triple lock, which is the noose around our necks. And, you know, there's actual, real things that we need to cut back on that we won't do because we're too busy giving it to the trade unions. So, the reason a lot of this is going down is because of Labour's early mistakes and when paying for the consequences now, which is what we all said was going to happen. And the way that Rachel Reeves is so surprised that taxes will have to go up, it is a lie. Everybody knew taxes were going to go up about 4 months ago, 5 months ago. So for them to pretend that they have to do this, it's them gaslighting us. I always separate it from lying. It's because they're trying to convince you that what is happening isn't happening, and it's just not true.
Oh, Peter, thank you very much for filling us with the joys of spring on a Saturday morning. That's Peter Barnes, political commentator there.
Right. Should we turn across the pond? Because President Trump has filed a $10 billion lawsuit against Rupert Murdoch and 2 reporters at the Wall Street Journal.
He is accusing them of defamation after the paper published a letter allegedly written by Trump to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, President Trump called the letter fake and claims the report caused serious reputational and financial damage.
US political analyst Eric Ham joins us live from Washington now. Eric, good day to you. Thank you for joining us. Another Trump story. I mean, this one sounds like it could actually be the one that really does Trump some damage.
Well, it certainly looks that way because, of course, much of the fighting is taking place inside MAGA, and we know that some of the biggest megaphones within that Republican tent are now pushing back hard against the president for refusing to actually release more of the information as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, when we look at this lawsuit that the president has filed against News Corp and Rupert Murdoch personally, this is certainly going to, I think, only escalate the fight. But we know Donald Trump has had an enormous amount of success in getting settlements from major media companies, including both ABC and CBS. And so this could be, of course, a cash grab by the president, but it also could be an opportunity to try to get the president to get an apology from a major far-right media outlet. And it's unclear where this is going to go, but what we are seeing right now is many of those on the right who are resisting ending this saga as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein, they are pushing back, and they're pushing back hard against the president.
Yeah, all right. Explain to us why that is happening. I mean, the president seems to be trying to throw shade on the Democrats with all this, but as you say, this is people within the MAGA movement and high-profile people who are causing the problem for Trump. Why are they so obsessed with this?
Well, because Donald Trump himself has been the king of conspiracies. And we know it was Donald Trump himself who actually lit the fire under much of his base about these conspiracies and about how this was the political elites that were covering and protecting Jeffrey Epstein. And that when he became president, the campaign promised was that as president of the United States, he would get behind it and he would, of course, provide transparency around many of the alleged actions of Jeffrey Epstein and how he was being protected by many of those on the left. And so now as president of the United States, with control of the Congress as well, the fact that we heard from Pam Bondi, Donald Trump's hand-picked attorney general, that she allegedly had the Epstein files and was prepared to release them and then did a 180 and did not. Well, that certainly just didn't sit right with many of those powerful voices on the right, people including Alex Jones, Elon Musk, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes himself is actually calling for rank-and-file Republicans to give Republicans a loss in the midterm elections next year. And so Donald Trump is trying as best he can to quell a lot of this dissent that is certainly having an impact. And of course, many of those Republicans in the House and Senate are anxious to leave Washington for their summer recess as a way to actually get away from many of these very difficult votes surrounding this issue.
Eric, it's no secret that they were friends back in the day, Trump and Epstein. Do you think, I mean, we had a load of files released in February. It didn't really take us any further on this. Do you think we will see any more of these Epstein files released at all?
Well, it's unclear, but the fact that Donald Trump was saying that he wanted to be able to go to court, get the courts to actually issue an order to release the grand jury transcripts, again, shows that the president is attempting to try to slow walk this. We know Donald Trump has always made clear his disdain for the courts outside of the Supreme Court, and it's very unusual for the president to now look for a handout from the courts to actually do this. And so I think what we're seeing here is the president is attempting to try to have it both ways. But clearly what we're seeing here is a number of those voices, once again, are continuing to push back and continuing to go directly at the president himself on this issue.
OK. Eric, good to see you. Thank you. It's a complex issue.
It really is. And it's like, as I said, it's no secret that these two were friends back in the day and they had a massive fallout, supposedly about property. We don't know. Then there's this birthday letter with the weird cartoon in it that we probably shouldn't describe over breakfast. But it's like, it's just a mess within a mess. And it's like so many accusations flying backwards and forwards. You know, I always say that American politics are put on earth to make ours look sane, because ours are mad. And theirs are just like... But I mean, the one thing...
Well, the thing that intrigues me overall is the fact that this is coming from within the Republican Party, within the MAGA movement itself, all this pressure on Trump, which is, of course, it's his base. They're the people who should be supporting it.
Exactly that. And that's why the papers over here, and it's in many of your papers today, are saying this is the one thing that really could bring him down, the one thing that could really damage him beyond repair.
Oh, well, we shall see. Keep a very close eye on it, of course. Right, let's get a check on the weather with Alex.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of warnings in force this weekend, with heavy thundery rain pushing their way in, including an amber warning across parts of the southeast through this morning, where we could see almost 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. So that brings the risk of some flash flooding, some difficult driving conditions as well. That heavy thundery rain is pushing its way northwards as we go through the day. So across parts of the Midlands, eastern England, into northern England and southeastern Scotland as well, we have the risk of some intense downpours. Elsewhere, some drier, brighter weather, but also a scattering of showers. And whilst temperatures on paper are down several degrees compared to yesterday, it is still going to feel pretty warm and humidity is high as well. Then as we go go into this evening, well, a lot of that heavy showery rain in the south will have pushed its way across parts of Scotland, particularly central and eastern parts. Aberdeenshire likely to see some heavy downpours later on. Across Northern Ireland, a scattering of showers to watch out for, perhaps a little bit drier towards Belfast in the east. Meanwhile, across northern England, very wet for some, particularly across northeastern parts. A slightly different story further south, across the Midlands, Wales, southern England. There'll be a few showery outbreaks for a little while yet, but also something a little bit drier than earlier on in the day. As we go overnight, kind of two areas of wet weather across Scotland, staying quite wet at times, and then heavier rain pushing in from the southwest as well. In between, though, something a little bit drier, perhaps some clear skies, but because of that high humidity I mentioned, temperatures not dropping much. Another pretty muggy night for many of us, a bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Then as we go through tomorrow, still more rain across eastern Scotland in particular, some high totals continuing to build up, and elsewhere we will see more of that showery rain feeding in from the southwest. Could be heavy, could be thundery again, with some more persistent heavy rain likely to affect some southwestern parts at times as well. Temperatures down a couple of degrees again, but if you get any bright or sunny spells, still feeling pretty warm.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We have got some good news for you, though. It's a Saturday morning, so we have got a load of money for you. Well, one of you could win it. It is our biggest
Not
gift.
all of you.
Not all of you. Well, if you carry on entering, we're doing more. But this one is £54,321, and it could be yours this summer, and here's all the details you need to win it.
We're here at Downhall in Essex to enjoy the finer things in life, and it's your chance to win £54,321 in cash. It's like having an extra £1,000 in your bank account each week for a whole year, which means that you'd be able to indulge in treats whenever you wanted to. That extra cash each week could send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing this year, to enable you to sit back, relax and do nothing. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, best of luck to you on that. Still to come, we're going to reveal what new tactics small boat migrants are exploiting as crossings continue to surge across the channel. That's coming up.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's coming up to 7:26 now. More than 23,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel so far this year. Hundreds arrived yesterday morning alone.
Yeah, GB News can also reveal that smuggling gangs are believed to be taking advantage of the thick fog to launch multiple boats into UK waters under the cover of that poor visibility.
Well, international security and border control expert Henry Bolton is here. Henry, good morning.
Good morning, Henry.
What on earth do we do? Because as much as people are complaining about this illegal immigration, every politician saying, well, we need to look at it, we're going to bring it down, we're going to stop it, they just keep coming and nothing happens.
They do, and they'll keep coming until we decide to make the UK a less attractive destination. People do not go, legitimately or otherwise, to places that they don't want to go to, that there is no benefit in going to. And until we put in place a deterrent regarding the actual migrants themselves, I'm not talking about the criminals right now, but the migrants themselves, until the UK is not attractive for them, they will continue to come. They will continue to want to come. Now, there is a criminal element, and the Prime Minister has made a lot about this Kensington Treaty, which he signed with Chancellor Merz. But it's interesting because he's going after the criminals because as a former DPP, he's offended by the criminality of it rather than the boats himself. He's putting in place no deterrent to the wish to migrate. And as long as there's a wish to migrate illegally, then there will be criminals attempting to meet that demand. And what you will see in response to any operational attempt to disrupt the gangs is they will manoeuvre, they will find other ways to circumvent the... If you remember some years ago, we put all those fences, paid the French to put those fences around the port of Calais because they were all coming in on trucks. Well, what did they do? Quite predictably, as I predicted at the time, they moved down the coast and used boats. And as we're starting to do be a little bit more robust with that, not very effectively, then they're moving a bit more people on the ferries again. And they will continue to find ways around this. So, because that demand for their services is there. And that is the point that we're failing at. And this Prime Minister particularly, because he's offended by the criminality rather than the actual migration, is failing to address that. And so, what do? We've got to quite simply make the UK an unattractive destination for these people to come to. Bearing in mind, though, that that the UK is marketed by criminals beyond the European Union as an attractive destination. That's how they they recruit people into the process. And then when they do get here and actually find that it is beneficial for them to be here financially and they can send money back home, it attracts more people who, back in Sudan or Somalia or wherever it may be, actually seek out those facilitators, those criminals who will move them. So it's a complex thing.
Well, even the French have said, look, you make your country too attractive.
Yep.
Their interior minister, even Macron himself, said, you need a deterrent. You need to stop people wanting to come. Not it's in France's interest to stop it, but you need people to stop, you know, get that deterrent.
Yep.
But every time we try and get a deterrent, the European Convention on Human Rights gets involved, and then we can't.
Yeah, indeed. And, you know, I'm a supporter of leaving the ECHR because 4 years ago, I think I sat at this very desk and said we should try to review, to launch a review of the ECHR, update it. But there was no attempt to do it then. And as I said at the time, if we don't do it now, we will get to the point where the situation is so dire that we have no choice but to remove ourselves from the ECHR, which also means repealing the Human Rights Act, because much of what's the obstacles to solving this problem legally in the ECHR are now written into the Human Rights Act in the UK, so we need to repeal that. And so it's very easy to say, apply a simplistic silver bullet to this and say, well, deploy the Navy to the Channel. That will not solve the problem because of all these complexities. Can it be done? Yes, it can. And I think also, I'll go back to the Merz visit, Chancellor Merz coming over here and signing this agreement with Keir Starmer. You know, we have a fundamental problem with our European colleagues. They run things from a very different legal point of view. Their police and their borders are run on the basis of having specific powers to do things. And in the UK, we have common law, which means that if we would expect a police officer to see a problem, something that's dangerous or clearly criminal, and act. If you are a German federal police officer and you see something, it might be dangerous or criminal, well, it's not criminal, but there is no specific legal power saying in these circumstances you do that, then you can't act.
Right. Look, is anything going to happen then, in the sense that if everyone said, and there's a broad agreement from an awful lot of people that deterrent is the answer here, it's the only thing that's going to work, and that's been ruled out by this government, I mean, from day one. So can anything actually change whilst they're in power? Because I can't see them U-turning on that.
You've hit it on the head. I fear that nothing will change with this government. As I say, the Prime Minister himself is offended by the illegality of the criminals, what they're doing, not by the actual migration. I think he fundamentally he believes that nations are an archaic structure, sort of architecture, that the United Kingdom is not able to stand on its own feet in the world. And you know, he's in a very different place to somebody like me, who believes actually that if you've got independent authorities like the United Kingdom working together to address collective problems, then you can actually do an awful lot.
Henry, just very, very quickly, I'm curious about this one. When you say he's offended by the criminality, is that because of his legal background, or is he frightened of the fact that by focusing on the migrants themselves, he might be accused by the left side of this party of being racist? For want of a better term, that's the word is used.
I think both. We know that there is an issue within the Labour Party and his backbenchers with regards his approach to Gaza, to Palestinians, to refugees, and what's a refugee and what's an economic migrant and so on. But again, you know, I think Starmer is defined by three things, really.
Keep it clean, Henry. Keep it clean.
He's defined by the fact that he's the son of a toolmaker, that his mother worked for the NHS, and he was Director of Public Prosecutions. And I think he sees the world through that lens. His whole career, as he's made very clear, his whole sort of position in life is based upon his experience as Director of Public Prosecutions. He dines out on that all the time, and I think it is the legal aspect of this. He is offended by the criminals, as we all are, but he is not in the slightest bit offended that economic migrants are travelling illegally to the United Kingdom to exploit the attractiveness, financial generally, of this country. And that's the problem.
All right, Henry, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
OK, indeed. Let me know what you think about that on gbnews.com/yoursay. I know lots of you will want to get involved. Right, but still to come, Ada McGee will be here with all the latest sporting news for you. That's next. Don't go too far.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
King Charles is stepping back from one of the most traditional royal duties, that's riding on horseback for the Trooping of the Colour, which is coming up, I think, in a week's time, isn't it? At 76 and undergoing cancer treatment, he'll now take the salute from a carriage, just as Queen Elizabeth did in her later years. But as the King trades saddle for state coach, it raises a bigger question. Does the pomp and pageantry of royal events like Trooping the Colour still resonate with modern Britain? Or are we holding on to rituals that really reflect the country, and do we really care?
I think the spectacle is important because it's symbolic, OK, and people really respond to that notion of heritage and grandeur. But I think it's about more than that. It's about constitutional monarchy. And there are three key points here. Constitutional monarchy produces higher standards of living than republics. It protects property rights and individual property because in the long term, it's not as vulnerable to ideology. And it holds a check on politicians as well. I'd much rather have King Charles than President Blair. And it's about continuity.
Legoland is just a short hop, skip and jump away from Windsor Castle. It gets many more visitors than any royal castle or other event. So we don't need the royals to have spectacle. We can have spectacle without it. And
OK,
I think,
Peter, you're not suggesting chopping their heads off, are you?
Oh, no, of course not. Of course not. No, I'd be very kind and gentle. But the one point that was made was that the royals are part of British culture and tradition. Well, in fact, the royals are German descent, who were basically, by their own internal agreement, took over the British throne.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
7:37, Aidan's here with the Sport Morning.
Good morning to you both.
Daniel Dubois.
Yes, he's in action tonight against the great, and we have to call him the great now because he simply is outstanding. Alexander Usyk, the Ukrainian fighter, hasn't fought in his homeland for donkey's years now, obviously, because of the war. He seems to do everything away from home. He's known as the Brit Slayer because he beat Tony Bellew at welterweight. He beat Derek Chisora. He beat Tyson Fury twice, Anthony Joshua twice, and his next one up is Daniel Dubois tonight. Now, Dubois, I believe, has a puncher's chance. We're going to hear from Frank Warren, the promoter, next hour. But I believe that Dubois certainly feels that after knocking out Anthony Joshua last September, he feels a renewed sense of confidence. He feels that given that he fought... Actually, that's another one on Usyk's record. He fought Dubois the first time. And it was controversial because Dubois aimed a shot around about the navel. A lot of people thought it was
below the belt.
No, the officials thought it was below the belt, and so it wasn't scored as a knockout. But a lot of casual observers and people in the know felt that it's just about on the line of the navel. Anyway, Usyk got away with it. Maybe that's the privilege you get when you're an elite level boxer. But Dubois has another chance tonight. As I say, a puncher's chance. I would have thought if he's going to do the job tonight, I think he's going to got to get in the ring and do it early.
Yeah.
Because it's very unlikely that anyone goes the distance with Alexander Usyk and comes out on top. And I see no signs whatsoever, Dawn, that Usyk is letting up. He may be 38 years old, but his movement, his dexterity, his hand speed, his coordination is just out of this world. I think he might be the best boxer I've ever seen.
Wow, and this is just to get my head around the number of belts in boxing these days.
4 belts.
Thank you. This is unifying those 4 belts.
That's right, yeah.
Right.
Usyk holds 3 of them, Dubois holds 1,
right,
which he won from Joshua. Now, look, this is the extent of the prize available to Dubois. He could become the first Briton ever to hold all 4 belts in the all 4 belts era. I think Lennox Lewis did it in the end of the 90s, but only 3 belts were up for grabs then. So huge prize honour for tonight for Daniel Dubois. It's 90,000 people at Wembley. It's going to be massive, and we'll be reporting it.
If you're in row ZZ up at Wembley, how are you going to see?
I'll be fine.
Same as when you're at a gig. You've got a big screen there as well.
Big screens.
When I used to cover these fights,
atmosphere.
I covered these fights years ago, and we used to be put in a media pen. But it was actually quite good. It was slightly elevated, and it wasn't up in the gods or anything. But it was. You could still see what was going on because you had big screens, same as you do if you're at a massive gig.
All right, Aidan, we've been told we're out of time. I say you've got Frank Warren on the show in the next hour.
Yeah, and I'll be doing a bit of Crystal Palace later on.
Lovely stuff.
Brilliant.
All right, Aidan.
Thanks, Aidan. OK, right, still to come if you are in search of some holiday sun, and I don't blame you, it's a bit drizzly today here, isn't it? Here is the forecast for some of those top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Lots of blue skies and strong hot sunshine around the Mediterranean at the moment. There's going to be a bit of a breeze blowing, however, this weekend, especially for Crete and Cyprus. Maybe 1 or 2 showers inland across Turkey, but again, most of the coast's dry and sunny. Same goes for Italy and much of southern Spain, along with the Balearics and the Canaries. Also set fair. Temperatures in Tenerife close to 30 Celsius. We'll have highs here of 29 for the next few days and similar temperatures in Barcelona.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Coming up to 7:44, time for the papers with economics editor at The Spectator, Michael Simmons, and writer and broadcaster Lewis Oakley. Good morning to you both. Michael, let's have a look at the Eye weekend, which is looking at freezing fuel duty again.
Yep, so we've had lots of stories about what taxes are apparently going to go up in Rachel Reeves' autumn budget, but the Eye say they've heard from Treasury sources that one that won't be going up is the fuel duty. Fuel duty for the last few years always gets frozen at the budget because, you know, it's such a vote winner to win over the motorists. But it's a tax that brings in a lot of money. It brings in £24 billion, and each household is paying something like £850. So with Rachel Reeves having to fill this black hole that she's got because of our sort of worsening economic position, there was a lot of thought that maybe, you know, she'll unfreeze it and put it up. Some might say that might be the sensible thing to do, but apparently no, they want to, even if they're going to be picking up tax in other areas, they want to say we are actually tackling the cost of living, so we're not going to make, you know, it more expensive at the petrol forecourts.
But this is what I don't understand with this government, in that I know it's very, very unpopular to raise any sort of taxes. Of course it is. But if you spread it wider, you can raise the amount by a much smaller figure.
Yeah, and it's the right time to do these unpopular but maybe necessary things as well, because we're far enough away from an election that maybe if you did things that did not make you popular but improved your position, 3 or 4 years' time, you can say, actually, we've now got this money to invest in improving public services, investing in people's lives. But if they just, you know, kick the can on that down the road, then, you know, it's going to be difficult for them in 4 years' time.
What do you reckon, Lewis?
I just wouldn't want to be in their position that they've got to do something, but all of it is going to be unpopular because everyone now, and I think it's at every almost wage bracket as well.
Yeah.
I was reading this whole thing about the Henrys now, the high earners that are on £100,000 but feel poor. Everyone you speak to feels there's no give in what they've got month to month. And so you look at these things like, yes, you should be freezing this, but they'll hold that up as well. We froze that whilst we did all this other stuff over here. It's not a positive outlook when we look at the finances here.
Well, actually, Lewis, staying with this story almost on the front page of The Guardian today, Labour making their case for power.
Yeah, so Angela Rayner has basically had to tell her colleagues that we need to stop being so negative, because I guess they've had some would say a tough first year in office, that actually they need to start talking up their achievements.
They literally came in the Rose Garden speech, remember, and say it's going to be really horrible.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is the thing, and I guess to your point, it's like actually do the hard stuff up front so that then you can get some positive momentum before the next election. I guess Angela Rayner is trying to have that step change now. She's got her pom-poms out and she's going to start talking about all the great things Labour have done.
They need a vision, though, to do the hard stuff, right? And that's not clear. What is Labour's vision, not for what the country is in a year's time? What do they want it to be in 10, 25 years' time? We don't hear that from Keir Starmer.
We don't hear that from Kemi Badenoch either.
Well, sure, but Keir Starmer's the Prime Minister, right? He's the person that actually right now has the power to change the country, and maybe he'd find it easier to get some of these policies past his backbenchers if he had presented a more clear vision of where he wanted to take the country.
I mean, it's interesting, though, isn't it, in that he is, of everything that needs to happen, Keir Starmer's being stopped not by the opposition but by his own backbenchers. Yeah. Well, that's his biggest issue.
But I think that's back to this vision point, right? Is that Labour MPs don't come into politics to cut welfare, to cut the winter fuel allowance, but they might hold their nose and do it if they thought it was part of some mission to fix the country, to take it to a different place. But if their leader's not giving them that, then they're just going to go, no, I'm going to...
I think the thing as well, it was a poison chalice that he got such a win that he did. It was going to be impossible to keep that many MPs in check. From the moment they won that big, it was like, well, that's going to crumble quickly.
And representing such a diverse range of constituencies, from sort of leafy country areas to inner city. Let's come to this. It's the other party, we don't talk about that much. Lib Dem run council. What are they doing? This is your story, Michael, in The Times.
Yeah, so they've been doing, this is South Cambridgeshire District Council, they've been doing a trial of a 4-day week for a while now, where you could do 100% of your work in 80% of your hours, which I presume basically means you get Friday off. And they've finished the trial and they've said they're going to make it permanent. And they claim that it's helped with recruitment. I mean, who wouldn't want to take a job where you still get the pay? And they say that it's not harmed productivity. I'm sceptical. It's sort of just...
Are they working longer days on the 4 days?
No, so the story does say that it is literally 80% of their hours. There are other councils that have done exactly that, where you do work a longer day, but this doesn't seem to be the case here. There is an element of unfairness, though, where it's only for desk-based jobs.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're a binman, if you do roadworks, etc., you know, you've got to be out there 5 days a week.
Look, I can understand the argument. We had a debate about this a few weeks ago, and I can understand the argument. And if you can cram all your work in, then I get it. And how lovely to have a 4-day week. But it does create a two-tier system, because there are a whole load of people who have jobs where you physically have to be there, and you know, whether you're a builder or a nurse or whatever you are, where it just would never work.
You're totally right. It would create a two-tier system. I think it's an interesting one, because I have had days where I've not worked one day, and actually I found this to be the most stressful weeks, where you're actually cramming 5 days work into 4 days. It's not as lovely as people would think. But I think the thing is, and we just talked about it a little bit, you need a Prime Minister with vision and some forward planning. Actually, this is probably going to be the way that it's going to go, so we actually need to be thinking about this, especially as we talk more and more about AI and what that's going to do to the workforce. We are going to be working less and less, so actually, we probably do need these trials, and we need to figure out what works.
I think this is very much a middle-class thing, because as the daughter of a dustman, basically, or refuse, whatever you have to call them now, there are some jobs, as Stephen just said, that you can't sit at home and do with AI and technology. You have to be out there cleaning the streets. You have to be out doing the management, and they are mostly working-class jobs.
Yeah, and we can't have the system where, you know, I work in an office, then I get my Friday off, but then I expect, you know, other bits of the service economy to still be going.
Yeah, I expect you to deliver my shopping, to take my rubbish away.
Yeah.
Well, it depends how they attack it, though. Is it that they'll say, well, we actually need more bin men then, because we're going to make the bin men go 4 days a week, and they'll still be paid the same? So we need someone with vision that says this is how we'll do it. Well, it depends how AI impacts the workplace, of actually will we be worse off or better off, and that needs someone to grab that right now and sort that out.
Oh, well, yes, ideally, but, I mean, heck, can you imagine? In the Mirror, Lewis, Harry's last hope.
Yes, so it's Harry's last hope, and the story is basically he's saying he better heal things with his dad now, because when the day comes where William's king, there'll be no chance. I mean, I almost think he's had his last chance. I really felt that... I think I said it on this show, when we found out about Kate and the king being unwell, now is the time. If ever you're going to heal this rift, now is the time. Your family needs you, and that didn't happen. So I don't see what is going to be gained. I almost think now, even if him and his dad did patch things up, well, William will still be king, and if you haven't patched things up... I mean, there's talks in here about he's worried about being banished. I mean, he's not even here to be banished.
Well, he's banished himself, didn't he?
He's banished himself.
Yeah, I don't know. Michael, what do you think?
It's just a sad story, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
Aside from, you know, Harry's, some would say, ridiculous behaviour over the last few years, his dad is clearly not going to be around forever. He's not well, and it would be a shame if they don't have some kind of reconciliation, you know, in the sort of latter years of his life. I think that's just sort of a sad human aspect to it that we kind of ignore, because we get too caught up in the exciting drama of the arguments with Meghan, etc.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that entirely. I think you need to boil it down to the fact they are just humans, and they are a family, and how awful that this rift exists. But I don't know how you go about... It just seems to be... When you're in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah, well, One humbly suggests stop making documentaries and talking to Oprah Winfrey and writing books about your washing your family's dirty laundry in public. Never a good thing.
It is never a good thing.
No.
This is an interesting one in the Times. You ban smartphones in schools, Michael, and bullying falls.
Yeah, so I guess there's finally some good news.
Yeah, it's good news.
This is
you had to look long and hard through the papers
we had to
find
go
it.
to page 36 to find a good news story. But they've looked at some schools that have been having these policies where you're not allowed to have your phone in school hours, and certainly not in the classroom. And they found that disruptive behaviour was down, I think, 40%, and there was less bullying. And I guess it's just because kids can be cruel. It's very easy to be cruel when you have all the social media, you know, they're on Snapchat and sending each other these texts and stuff. But it's not just that they have less opportunity, you know, for bullying to arise, but it's also that they're more focused on their schoolwork. So I think if this is found more widely, it would make sense for it to be rolled out.
Wasn't this just common sense in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, look, I am, as a parent, I am always a bit cautious of the anti-smartphone thing because they are going to have to learn, they're going to have smartphones, they're going to have devices, there has to be a balance there. However, I don't think they should have them in schools. And I actually think that maybe there is a big gap for a bit of tech that is specifically designed for kids to be able to do the essentials but not always be on the bad elements of it. So it's really great to see this. I just think I'm not a fan of like, well, kids just shouldn't have phones until they're 16.
But they just don't need them in school. They can have them at home.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm in favour of that. And limited, and parents need to take responsibility.
Yeah. All right, you two. Very good. Nice to end on something we agree on. Lovely stuff.
OK, weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of warnings in force this weekend with heavy thundery rain pushing their way in, including an amber warning across parts of the southeast through this morning where we could see almost 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. So that brings the risk of some flash flooding, some difficult driving conditions as well. That heavy thundery rain is pushing its way northwards as we go through the day. So across parts of the Midlands, eastern England, into northern England and southeastern Scotland as well, we have the risk of some intense downpours. Elsewhere, some drier, brighter weather, but also a scattering of showers. And whilst temperatures on paper are down several degrees compared to yesterday, it is still going to feel pretty warm and humidity is high as well. Then as we go into this evening, while a lot of that heavy showery rain in the south will have pushed its way across parts of Scotland, particularly central and eastern parts. Aberdeenshire likely to see some heavy downpours later on. Across Northern Ireland, a scattering of showers to watch out for, perhaps a little bit drier towards Belfast in the east. Meanwhile, across northern England, very wet for some, particularly across northeastern parts. A slightly different story further south, across the Midlands, Wales, southern England. There'll be a few showery outbreaks for a little while yet, but also something a little bit drier than earlier on in the day. As we go overnight, kind of two areas of wet weather across Scotland, staying quite wet at times, and then heavier rain pushing in from the southwest as well. In between, though, something a little bit drier, perhaps some clear skies, but because of that high humidity I mentioned, temperatures not dropping much. Another pretty muggy night for many of us, a bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Then as we go through tomorrow, still more rain across eastern Scotland in particular, some high totals continuing to build up, and elsewhere we will see more of that showery rain feeding in from the southwest. Could be heavy, could be thundery again, with some more persistent heavy rain likely to affect some southwestern parts at times as well. Temperatures down a couple of degrees again, but if you get any bright or sunny spells, still feeling pretty warm.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
On this day, 4 years ago, GB News was born, launching our first live broadcast on June 13th, 2021. Let's take a look back at some of our earlier memories.
If you've just switched on, a very warm welcome to you. I am Alistair Stewart, and until 3 p.m. this afternoon, I'll be keeping you company, along with friends and, I hope, friendly guests. I hope you'd agree that we've had a strong hour of debate and discussion so far, but there's lots more still to come. GB News is all about you, our viewers. Any burning questions or stories that you think we need to cover, no matter how big or small, we really do want to hear from you.
Well, we can now speak with former GB News presenter Alistair Stewart. Alistair, thank you so much for joining me. Thinking back to 4 years ago, what did you think the channel's prospects were? Did you think it would be a success?
I did. Thank you so much for having me on, and a very happy birthday to you, one of the many brilliant faces, as we call it in the trade, presenting programmes, but also to the absolutely wonderful team of technicians that you've got behind you, making sure that this all gets on air very smoothly. And we've not only hung on in there, but we've now got GB News Radio as well. Online, we're huge. We get quite good numbers on viewing, very, very good numbers on listening, well ahead some of the other competitors. I do remember when Murdoch launched Talk, there were quite a few people in the newsroom who were nervous, not because they were so good, but because Murdoch had so much more money than we did. We've seen them off. They're virtually dead in the water now, and we are thriving, celebrating 4 years of triumphal and brilliant journalism.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. Afghans being resettled in Britain are reportedly, in some cases, bringing more than 20 relatives over, including some previously refused asylum.
Yes, it's the fallout from that catastrophic Ministry of Defence data breach, and it continues with 3 UK-linked Afghans reportedly killed by the Taliban in just the past week.
Meanwhile, the cost of living crisis rumbles on, reports suggesting fuel duty could be frozen again.
But as Kemi Badenoch warned, Britain is stuck in a doom loop of rising taxes. Is this all further proof of a government that's lost control?
Understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
President Trump files a $10 billion lawsuit accusing Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal of defamation over an explosive Epstein-linked story. Is it a fight for reputation or a media war?
And over 23,000 small boat migrants have already crossed the channel this year, and GB News has uncovered a surprising new tactic used by the people smugglers.
A young entrepreneur who's been living what they call the digital nomad dream says remote working turned into chaos and she's had to ditch it to save her business. So, is 9 to 5 making a comeback?
Crazy! And they've stopped play at Lord's Cricket Ground and sent beachgoers running. Now the swarms are heading inland to you. We'll find out what's behind the great Ladybird takeover.
With 4 belts on the line, it's the status of becoming boxing's undisputed heavyweight champion of the world up for grabs for Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois in front of 90,000 people at Wembley Stadium this evening. We'll hear from Frank Warren later this hour.
Lots of heavy thundery rain, lots of warnings this weekend. The risk of some flash flooding in places. I'll have the details coming up.
Just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Go on, spit it out.
Well, I just want to talk about the weather. That little weather tease there saying, oh, and, you know, floods are on the way. It's like, hold on a minute, 5 minutes ago we had a hosepipe ban.
Oh, I know.
Really? I'm struggling to keep up with what's going on here.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It is ridiculous. But it's because the land gets very dry, and therefore the rain, when it comes heavily, doesn't sink in.
Here's a solution. Why don't we build reservoirs?
Oh, here's the thought. Well, hopefully.
Just a suggestion.
It's meant to be handy. I tell you what, on the weather, because there's real thunderstorm warnings today. This is Dorset. This is in the Express. Look at that. It looks like something on the American planes.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? It's a tornado sweeping across there.
A little house in the middle of a field. Yeah. It's beautiful, doesn't it? It's really lovely. But that's somewhere in Dorset, apparently.
Yeah.
To put a bid in for that, wouldn't you?
Well, actually, it's only a hay barn.
Ah, right.
But, I mean, pay $1 billion for it if you want. But there you go. That's on the same page as Cliff Richard, saying, I don't want to be an 85-year-old guy pretending to be 18.
85? Is he 85?
Yeah.
That's astonishing.
He's thinking he's thinking he might quit touring.
At 85? Time to step down a bit.
No, he is doing Australia and New Zealand in November. I mean, the man's a legend.
I'll tell you what, that's the way to do it. Just keep going, absolutely.
The Peter Pan of pop.
Yeah, what would he do if he did stop, though? Didn't he have a vineyard at one point?
He does have his own wine, doesn't
Grow
he?
your own wine. Could be the one, yeah. I'd be
all right.
lethal running a vineyard.
We'd never sell any.
Wouldn't be any to sell, would there?
No. Right. Let's crack on, because there are new questions over the UK's Afghan resettlement scheme following that major data breach by the MOD a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it follows reports in The Telegraph that one migrant has brought over more than 20 relatives, including some who had previously been refused asylum.
Meanwhile, a Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, accusing the government of pushing Britain into what she's calling a doom loop of rising taxes, with families paying more for less.
And sticking with the economy, because we really wanted to press you this morning, there's fresh speculation that Rachel Reeves is preparing to freeze fuel duty again this autumn in what's being described as key part of Labour's cost of living fight back.
Let's talk to political commentator Aman Bogal, who's here. Good to see you.
Good to see you
this morning. What are we meant to do about all this Afghan refugee situation, the resettlement thing? I mean, the data breach, horrific. The cover-up, horrific. I think most people would agree with that. But are we stuck between a rock and a hard place now?
Well, on the contrary, I think it's a real indictment of the establishment elite that have been taking this country for a ride for a very long time. And this proves that very point, that the fact that they had this super injunction, that they had to cover up something which they thought was a good idea. But good ideas don't need to be covered up. You know, most right-minded people would support helping those in genuine need. But here's the point. Most of these people in Afghanistan, when ISAF was there with British forces, helped knowing full well what they were getting themselves into. And I would argue that they were recompensed very well for that time. They took that risk to align with ISAF forces. They knew exactly what they were doing. Britain does not owe a single point of entry to these people. They should be, yes, helped at that time of need, but we do not owe them a place of sanctuary in the UK.
Aman, so you're saying we shouldn't accept the Afghan refugees?
No, because three things. Because A, we simply do not know who these people are. We cannot verify their identities. For all we know, they could be Taliban implants. It's a serious question on national security ramifications. But further than that, what about the cultural incompatibilities? These are not your Nepalese Gurkhas, you know, which are very compatible with serving in the British Army, being allowed to come over here because of their long service records. And of course, in many cases, Gurkhas have been allowed to bring in their families as well. And that's the right thing to do. They have served king and country. But these people, of course, are not people who served king and country in that way. They knew exactly what they were doing.
But can you imagine the argument would be they didn't think the Taliban were going to come back into power. And I mean, and already now we understand that you know there are murder squads looking for people who are on this list, and 3 people have been killed this week. I mean, there would be an outcry, wouldn't there, if people who have helped British forces during that time we just left them to be murdered.
Well, look, as much of a... the whole idea of surrendering Afghanistan to the Taliban with the very sudden removal of, Western troops from Afghanistan under President Joe Biden, I think was a grave mistake.
Yes. Yeah.
And the fact that that's happened, I think, is the bigger question here as to, well, why was that allowed to happen?
Well, it's not the bigger question to those people who are on the list, though, is it?
Well, as I say, you know...
it may be a question they want answering, but it's a thing of the past.
I think a question a lot of them will need asking is, well, did Britain or the British Army or ISAF at that time promise these people that they would be given sanctuary in a safer place? I mean, OK, here's another question. If these people do need sanctuary, well, Britain has very close links with the Pakistanis and the Pakistani establishment, why not provide them with a sanctuary in Pakistan, which is a much more compatible culture to what these people are coming from? We give Pakistan a lot of aid every year. Why don't some of that aid go to helping these people just move across the border from Afghanistan?
From what we understand, quite a few of them are in Pakistan already, but they are still being given passage to the UK.
So there's no need to bring them to the UK. They can be helped in Pakistan. They can be helped in other Middle Eastern countries who are our allies and friends. Why not?
Can we look at things a bit closer to home?
Sure.
With we've got a doom loop of tax rises, according to Kemi Badenoch, and yet we're being told fuel duty will be frozen again, which is, I mean, not really unexpected, but is that even that a sensible thing to do at this time when we've no money?
Well, I mean, look at it this way. Fuel duty has now been frozen for, 15 consecutive years. I think any chancellor of any persuasion is going to find it incredibly difficult to put an escalator on it. But more than that, I mean, look, it raises £24 billion a year, which is roughly about £850 per British household. I mean, if you ask me, I think it should be abolished altogether. After all,
well, that would be lovely if we could afford to do it.
Well, I mean, look, we can afford £8 million a day on migrant hotels. I think we should be able to afford to help British people getting into their cars and vans and builders and all the rest of it. I mean, look, fuel duty has a knock-on impact on the rest of GDP growth when it comes to filling up a van for a builder who's going about there.
Well, it does, but the argument would be, as much as people don't like fuel duty and they don't like income tax and they don't like any, who does?
Taxes, yeah.
No, who
well,
does?
I mean, look,
but the argument is taxes that affect a large swathe of the population, you can increase the revenue substantially by raising them a little bit rather than having punishing tax rises on just a few.
Stephen, look, I think we are already at record taxation in the UK, and it's a real indictment of the orthodoxy of the Treasury and the establishment elite of the civil service, that we find ourselves in a country right now that we are taxed at the highest, but our public services are crumbling. Our road network isn't growing as it should be. Look, we have the highest fuel duty in the developed world. It simply is unsustainable. If the UAE can manage their road network, well, why can't we with that fuel duty? But more than that, I mean, look, this doom loop of taxation is what we go back to with when Liz Truss was standing to be Conservative Party leader and Prime Minister. She wanted to take on the orthodoxy that for far too long we've had the same socialist economics being pushed down the throats of British people, and look at where it has got us. So something has to change. Rachel Reeves not wanting to raise it, I think, well, she's got the highest amount of borrowing for a very long time per month. She's already done the whole thing with inheritance tax, and she had to make a U-turn on the winter fuel allowance cut. So there are ways of managing the British economy far better than what we've seen. I mean, the question I always want to ask is, well, show me one place anywhere in the world where socialist economics has been successful, and the answer is no.
Oman, interesting opinions there. Thank you very much for joining us. I think you're back in the next hour, are you?
Indeed.
Marvellous, thank you. We'll see you then. You say, I had strong opinions there. What do you think? gbnews.com/your say. Do you agree with them on? Should we not be taking any Afghan migrants whatsoever? Let us know your views.
Right. Turning stateside, should we? Because President Trump has filed, wait for it, a $10 billion lawsuit against Rupert Murdoch and two reporters at the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, he's accusing them of defamation after the paper published a letter allegedly written by Trump to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, he's since called the letter fake and says the report has caused serious reputational and financial damage.
Yeah, earlier we spoke to US political analyst Sarah Firth.
It was all sparked by the Department of Justice releasing a memo saying they've gone through the evidence and there is no client list. Now, amongst President Trump's sort of core MAGA base, the grassroots movement that voted him to power, there's long been these rumours and conspiracies around a client list that Jeffrey Epstein held, of very wealthy elites in the United States. So that really didn't go down well. And we've really seen that narrative kind of spiral out of control recently, and culminating in the Wall Street Journal publishing this letter that they alleged President Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein that was included in a book for his 50th birthday. Now, President Trump said, that's not me. I don't draw pictures. That's not the way I write. It's not the language that I use. And he has now filed that lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch, and others. And at the same time, you've had him direct his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to which she's now done. She's filed a court motion to unseal grand jury testimony from the Jeffrey Epstein trial in 2019. And I think the hope there really from President Trump is that he's handed it back over to the Department of Justice, back over to the Attorney General, and it will now be in the court's hands. There's a little bit of a sticking point because grand jury testimony, it's by design secretive. It's meant to protect witnesses, victims in these situations. So it will be up to a judge to decide whether or not the public interest weighs the privacy issues here and whether we'll get those transcripts. And then, of course, guys, it's going to be whether those transcripts actually calm this storm that's happened and satisfy President Trump's MAGA movement when it comes to this call for transparency around the Epstein files.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, as you say, it's the conspiracy stuff which is taking over now, and it's almost going back to that sort of the QAnon stuff that was around 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, and President Trump has really tried to close the chapter on this. He got quite heated earlier in the week, sort of lashed out at his own allies and supporters, really, because this has been his grassroots movement, and it has been some Republicans as well that have been calling for this transparency. They don't want to, or they haven't accepted the narrative that there is no client list. So he sort of lashed out saying, well, this is a Democratic hoax. That's what he called it. And he called people who believed it weaklings. That didn't go down particularly well. Interestingly, though, Stephen, what has played well to the MAGA grassroots movement, and I've been speaking to some people today in the wake of that Wall Street Journal report. You know, we've had President Trump come out and say this is fake news, the fake news media. He's gone in really hard with this fight. He has filed that libel lawsuit, and that has played quite well to his MAGA grassroots crowd. You know, they are very anti-establishment. They are very anti some of the mainstream media, and so that situation has had a little bit actually of a unifying factor, where there was this pretty major divide starting to open up within the Republican Party and within that grassroots movement. So the question now for everyone here in the US is this going to calm down?
I mean, what to say? I mean, the irony with it all is that this is the biggest pressure on Donald Trump now is coming from within his loudest supporters.
This is the weird thing about this particular story. He was the one that campaigned to have the files released in the first place.
Yeah,
that's what he said he was going to do. That release didn't actually prove anything. Another release, will that do? We know they were friends. I mean, there's pictures of them all over the place.
It's going to be interesting. Well, yeah.
He was on the flight logs going, to the island.
But then Jeffrey Epstein was friends with everybody, wasn't
yeah,
it? I mean, it didn't matter what party you were in.
No.
You know, they were all he was hanging about with all the big players.
Yeah.
Because he was he was a power broker, wasn't he?
He really was, yeah.
Anyway.
And he's no longer around anymore to dish the dirt, is he?
No, well, I can't say I'm very sorry about that.
No, absolutely. And the only person serving time for it is a woman.
Yeah. Right. Let's have a look at the weather.
Shall we?
Here's Alex.
Here's the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of warnings in force this weekend, with heavy thundery rain pushing their way in, including an amber warning across parts of the southeast through this morning, where we could see almost 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours, so that brings the risk of some flash flooding, some difficult driving conditions as well. That heavy thundery rain is pushing its way northwards as we go through the day, so across parts of the Midlands, eastern England, into northern England and southeastern Scotland as well, we have the risk of some intense downpours. Elsewhere, some drier, brighter weather, but also a scattering of showers, and whilst temperatures on paper are down several degrees compared to yesterday, it is still going to feel pretty warm and humidity is high as well. Then as we go into this evening, well, a lot of that heavy showery rain in the south will have pushed its way across parts of Scotland, particularly central and eastern parts. Aberdeenshire likely to see some heavy downpours later on. Across Northern Ireland, a scattering of showers to watch out for, perhaps a little bit drier towards Belfast in the east. Meanwhile, across northern England, very wet for some, particularly across northeastern parts. A slightly different story further south, across the Midlands, Wales, southern England. There'll be a few showery outbreaks for a little while yet, but also something a little bit drier than earlier on in the day. As we go overnight, kind of two areas of wet weather across Scotland, staying quite wet at times, and then heavier rain pushing in from the southwest as well. In between, though, something a little bit drier, perhaps some clear skies, but because of that high humidity I mentioned, temperatures not dropping much. Another pretty muggy night for many of us, a bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Then as we go through tomorrow, still more rain across eastern Scotland in particular, some high totals continuing to build up, and elsewhere we will see more of that showery rain feeding in from the southwest. Could be heavy, could be thundery again, with some more persistent heavy rain likely to affect some southwestern parts at times as well. Temperatures down a couple of degrees again, but if you get any bright or sunny spells, still feeling pretty warm.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, do you fancy a whole load of cash? I bet you do.
Yes, please.
Tax-free as well.
Yes,
£54,321 could all be yours. Here's how.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. That'd be nice summer, wouldn't it? Oh. We can't do that, though. You can. So get entering now. Be a good summer. OK, still to come, are we seeing the return of the traditional 9 till 5? And is flexible working just an excuse not to go to work? We're obviously working and keeping you company. All that next, so don't go too far. We'll see you soon.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
How can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel. It's 8:24. Now, a business owner called Louise Truman has had to drag her employees back to the office. They had been doing flexible working, but it all became too problematic.
Yeah, she says that remote working became insufficient and caused chaos in her life due to the lack of work-life balance.
So we're asking this morning, is flexible working actually harder, or is it just an excuse not to do that much?
We're joined now, business and economics commentator Michael Wilson and a businessman and entrepreneur Mike Green. OK, Mike, let's come to you first, Mike Green, on this one. Just get into the office, flexible working, it causes all sorts of problems.
Well, I think it does, depending whether you have adapted your system, adapted your business to it. Initially I was against this, and I've got two Gen Zers myself, 22 and 26-year-old. They work incredibly hard if they are given the freedoms to recognise that they are different to what we are. I'm 60 now. I read the piece on Louise, and I think that it was a lack of structure and leadership that caused her problems. And it was like she wanted to be all cool and Gen Z. The minute it didn't work her way, she threw her ball out the pram and insisted that they all come back. I believe it was more her problem than remote working problem or Gen Z problem, personally.
All right there, Michael. So we've got to adapt. It might not work for everyone, but we need to adapt our business models.
I sympathise with young families in particular, because going to work, if you are travelling into a large city, for example, where most of the work is very, very expensive indeed. And also, I think childcare is extremely expensive, and that causes a lot of problems, I think, for young families. ACAS did a survey about all this, and they found that some entrepreneurs, like Mike, for example, perhaps, like the fact that you can offer people flexible working. The law states that you can ask for flexible working on your first day. But what their argument is, it does tend to attract good talent, because people who are talented tend to be quite self-motivated. I think, though, my view is that you've got to be very, very motivated indeed to take part in flexible working, i.e. work from home. Here are some of the problems. 1, loneliness. 2, lack of camaraderie. I think it's very, very important to work with people and to get to be in close proximity with them. And don't also forget, along with everything else, you've got to find yourself a home office. And don't be surprised if your utility bills go up. What about data protection? What about in-house IT help and so on? The list goes on. But the law quite clearly says that employees of any description, of any part of a company, can, on their first day at work, actually ask for flexible working. I liked going into the office when I used to go in on a daily basis. I used to like meeting people, and I used to like the banter and the camaraderie of actually working in an office as well. I think it's a very important part of growing up.
Mike, lots of strong arguments there.
Yeah, and I think we're probably talking, and I agree with a lot of that as well, one or the other. The reality is many of these remote working agreements are a couple of days in the office, maybe 3 days at home. That kind of flexibility allows people to build closer relationships close to home. So it's not just at work, to reconnect and connect differently with their partners. I've got a mate who's 60 as well, and during COVID, he said, suddenly I was having breakfast with my wife several times a week. Suddenly I realized I was giving up 2-3 hours a day commuting, which added up to weeks a year that I got back. I think it's a combination. The socialization is definitely something. So I don't think we can become completely remote and never meet up. But equally, I think it's archaic to believe that we should force them in 4 or 5 days a week. It shouldn't be about the number of days worked. It should be about the effectiveness, of the people and the productivity of the teams. But also, you talk
but Mike,
motivation.
There's a huge amount of sense in what you say. My concern would be we're looking at it from the perspective of people who have done the 9 to 5, who've worked in the office, and then we're moving out to an extent. There's a huge difference between that and younger people who have never done the 9 to 5 to begin with, and so they don't have that work ethic in the same way, do they?
Does it need to be 9 to 5?
Well, whatever it is, I mean, that's just a turn of phrase, but actually heading into the office for that period of time.
Sorry, Michael, were you...
Mike?
Well, I mean, if you're asking me about that, I mean, I think that Mike put his finger on it. The word is productivity. How do you actually ensure that your employees working flexibly, working at home, are as productive as they might be, or might not be, but might be in the office? Are they compressing, for example, or 5 days in inverted commas of work into 4 or 3 days? I mean, all these kind of questions. Personally, I would, if I were running a team, I would like them to feel that they are part of a team, and I'd like to keep my eye on them personally. And I think that's what you don't get with flexible working.
I can't help thinking of the saying, don't confuse activity with accomplishment. If they're not doing the job, that's a completely different conversation. Some people are really good remote workers and their body clocks work differently. To force them into going in that commuter belt, I mean, I used to do it for years. It's like traveling with ants. The roads are full, the trains are full, the buses are full. You literally can't get around. Being a bit flexible, allowing people to work the hours when their energy levels are higher, but holding them to account and then creating the social. So my eldest full-time remote, she can do it from UK, Malaysia, wherever she is. My youngest works in the office 2 days a week. They're both doing really, really well, been promoted, very productive. And sometimes if they're working from my house, I see them working into the wee hours. They're almost doing more work to overcompensate the fact they're not in an office.
Yeah, well, it's not black and white, is it? Michael, thank you both very much indeed. I mean, look, like everyone, it'd be very nice to work when you want to work and all the rest of it. But I know, I mean, all these people who say, oh, I work from home and I'm much more productive. I know if I had the option to work from home and did it, I would not be as productive. I would find that self-motivation really hard.
You do have to be incredibly self-motivated. I mean, that is the problem. You do, and incredibly disciplined as well. And I find people go either one way or the other. They sort of like wander off and start doing other things. And some people like me, unfortunately, because we've only got a flat, so my laptop is literally, you know, next to the settee. So the husband's there trying to relax and watch telly and I'm on my laptop. So you can do that. You can literally end up working around the clock, which isn't healthy either. And what would happen if we all worked from home? What would happen to office romances, Stephen?
Well, darling, we would never have met. We would never have met. Heaven forfend. Right.
Watershed.
Talking of beautiful couples, Aidan McGee is going to be joined by Frank Warren in a couple of minutes to talk about the Usyk-Dubois fight tonight. See you in a minute.
See you soon.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Dubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
You have to tackle gross levels of inequality. Now, this is not about being... It's not about fairness or the politics of envy. It's about saying we need more money in average people's pockets so they can go out and spend. What's happening is a lot of people are spending all their money on rent and mortgages.
So you want to take money off rich people and give it to poorer people?
Yeah, but obviously, when I say rich, who do you imagine?
No, well, I don't know, because I'm not proposing it. You tell me.
So for me, I'm not talking about those who've done quite well, those who've grown their businesses. I'm talking about the billionaire class and the corporations. And I don't want to look at increasing income taxes necessarily. It should be about a wealth tax, because if we don't do anything about it, it's going to get worse. Now, what's interesting what you said about benefits, I know there's this pervasive idea. I just want to make that point quickly.
Finish this point. She's about to spontaneously combust, but hang on. Go on, finish your point.
There is this pervasive idea that, well, we need to cut benefits to force people into work. And you can understand the logic there. It makes sense, right? What's interesting is in Denmark, they have a higher labour rate of participation, which a fancy phrase of more working age people are in work than the UK. In 2022, it was like 80%, 2024, 75%. Look at the UK, only 53% of people in work, yet Denmark have a far higher or far generous welfare state.
Well, we've had a lot of cheap labour that has come in, which that's taken the levels of earnings down at times, and that's left...
I disagree with that.
Left... Well, just let me finish. And that's left a lot of people who already live here, basically lounging on the sofa and thinking, well, my benefits are great, why should I get out of bed? Why should I get out of bed for another 20 quid a week? And we've got to get rid of that mentality, because it's the same people...
You're using anecdotes here. You're not looking at the facts.
I've told you the facts. Who seem to be contributing to this economy year in and year out, and a lot of them are actually older.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, time for the sport. Aidan's here, good morning.
Good morning to you both.
Let's talk boxing.
Let's talk boxing. Yeah, huge fights this evening. 90,000, in excess of 90,000 people expected at Wembley Stadium for Daniel Dubois against Alexander Usyk 2. Remember what happened in the first fight? It was quite controversial. I think it was a couple of years ago, because we had the fight and it was... Dubois was more than holding his own, there's no question about that, but then there was that crashing blow that went from Dubois to Usyk's midriff, if you like, but it was judged to be below the belt when Certainly, that's how the officials saw it. Maybe he got some preference because he was the champion, of course, and a great boxer, as we know, an all-time legend. But lots of casual observers, lots of people who know the sport felt that Dubois was a little bit hard done by that night, and maybe it offered a clue that the body shot into Usyk is the key to beating him. Having said that, I've seen nothing to suggest that he's going to be losing any of his sparkle, any of his capability. He looks to me as if every inch as if he's going to be remembered as one of the greats. I mean, you look at, he's known as the Brit Slayer. I mean, he's beaten Dubois before, as we mentioned. He's beaten Tony Bellew at welterweight. He's beaten Chisora. He's beaten Fury twice, and he's beaten Joshua twice. So it promises to be a wonderful occasion this evening. And it tells us where boxing is right now, because new money has come into the sport in the last 5 years or so. We've seen some of the politics put to one side. We're getting the fights that we really want to see. So I think we can speak to Frank Warren right now on the phone, over phono. Frank, good morning to you, first of all. Just on the subject of Daniel Dubois, how much of a different fighter will we see tonight compared to the one we saw against Usyk first time round?
Good morning, Aidan. Well, it's nearly 2.5 years on, and since then he's had 3 magnificent wins. 3 stoppages against world-class fighters, including his last one in front of 96,000 people, probably against AJ, Anthony Joshua. And he's quite full of confidence. You know he has the power to hurt, because we just mentioned about the controversial finish.
OK, Frank, we're going to stop it there for a moment because the line is very crackly and our viewers are struggling to hear. We'll hopefully get Frank back. But nonetheless, I think Frank was going to say, or trying to say, that Daniel Dubois was a completely different fighter now, owing to the fact that he dismantled Anthony Joshua. He knocked him down 4 times last September in 5 rounds, and it really busted the myth of Joshua as a main contender.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? I mean, this is going to be one hell of a fight.
I believe...
unless, as you say, Dubois gets it and gets in quick.
He has to be... That's a key point. I think Frank would have made that point. He probably has to get in and do the job quickly. He's capable. This is heavyweight boxing. A one-off punch can make it lights out. Doesn't matter who you're up against. But you know what? The big punchers tend to like the big targets. That's why Joshua went down quite... not easily. I'm not saying he went down easily, of course. So you wouldn't let him hear me say that. But if you look back now, the reason that Usyk doesn't get hit, part of it is because at 6'3", it sounds big, but in heavyweight terms these days, it's not that enormous. So the big punchers like big targets. Usyk always seems to be able to dodge it with a mixture of great dexterity, huge hand speed, wonderful movement around the ring, brilliant footwork, and that's why I think in a few years' time when we look back at his career, and also remember he hasn't fought on home ground, home territory in Ukraine for obvious reasons for a good few years now. All his good work, all his top work has been done in Poland, in Germany, and here in the UK, and I think he'll be looking to add another notch to his win roster
and because of fights in this country, it's be on a time that most of us can watch it rather than at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I know Riyadh Caesar's not quite upon us yet. We'll see. I mean, look, no one's criticising Riyadh. Has brought a hell of a lot of money into boxing, but you do see the biggest fights happen around at that time now because that's where the biggest person is.
Before we let you go, Aidan, can we have a look at the British and Irish Lions, because they're facing Australia today, aren't they?
11 o'clock, yes, at the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. I said a couple of hours ago, didn't I, that I felt that, down under they feel that this is not going to be a contest. They feel that the Australian side is not a vintage side. They feel that, even if they just played Ireland or England alone, they struggle to beat them. If you throw in Wales and Scotland as well, Wales actually don't have a player here for the first time in 129 years, but that's by the by. Nonetheless, I expect England to win the 3 tests. They've had no problems so far against the local opposition, although that's not a great barometer either, because those local sides have to give up their top players to Australia to prepare for the main matches. But nonetheless, it's the first time the British and Irish Lions have been down to Australia since 2013 when they won. I think they'll win quite comfortably this morning, and we'll be covering it tomorrow morning on breakfast.
OK, and before you go, Aidan, Moira's just messaging, any sports coverage of the Tour de France? Maybe we'll save that one for later in the day.
Possibly. Not a lot of British interest in it, though, unfortunately.
Moira's interested?
Yeah, in terms of competitors.
I'm interested.
There
you go.
Right, we'll do it on your show later, shall we?
Yeah, we can talk about it later.
Oh, yes, because you're on all day.
I'm doing double. Thank you very much, Aidan. I'll see you later.
Dawn Neeson.
Omnipresent, all right, Aidan, thank you. Right, still to come, Lewis Oakley and Michael Simmons are going to take us through the newspapers. Morning, gents.
Morning.
First up, we've got a bit of holiday sun. Here's the European forecast.
dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Lots of blue skies and strong hot sunshine around the Mediterranean at the moment. There's going to be a bit of a breeze blowing, however, this weekend, especially for Crete and Cyprus. Maybe 1 or 2 showers inland across Turkey, but again, most of the coast's dry and sunny. Same goes for Italy and much of southern Spain, along with the Balearics and the Canaries. Also set fair. Temperatures in Tenerife close to 30 Celsius. We'll have highs here of 29 for the next few days and similar temperatures in Barcelona.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, you didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
All right, we're going to go through the papers with the economics editor of The Spectator, Michael Simmons, and the writer and broadcaster, Lewis Oakley. Gents, good morning to you.
Morning.
Look at the Telegraph, Lewis, and the Epstein papers that Trump has wanted. Well, he's wanted the grand jury testimony released, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, there's so many different layers to this story. It's actually quite interesting. I mean, so what's come about recently is there's this whole birthday card. Did he, didn't he do it? He says he didn't. He's taken out a £10 billion lawsuit because he really believes he didn't do it. From my perspective, and I think you've got to keep perspective when it comes to Trump, like, this birthday card thing, it doesn't mean anything. It's not a smoking gun. It's nothing. Even if he did write it or he didn't write it, it doesn't really change anything. The problem is that they're trying to find something to put pressure on him to release these Epstein files, should they exist. He's saying they don't. So the only thing he's got is to get this grand jury to unseal the transcripts from Epstein's 2019 trial. So that's what he's hoping, because the problem is he made it his election pledge to unseal all of these documents.
Well, he started this,
so
didn't
he started it. So it's very odd that he now is trying to turn around and be like, oh, what are we even talking about? Why do we even care about this? It's like, you rallied people up about this, so you're going to have to do something.
He's lost the podcast bros, hasn't he? Like the Joe Rogans and those types who he played into the Epstein stuff before the election, and now he's not delivered what he told them he would deliver. They've turned against him.
Is this Musk's fault?
Well,
because when they had their big falling out, that was what he was tweeting about, wasn't it?
It's this list. Does it exist? Is it there? You know, some would argue, well, if there was this list and someone's name was on it, that it would have been released.
But one of his people said it was on their desk, but then apparently that just meant the whole case files.
Yeah.
Some people suggest that if the list came out, it would be bad for both Democrats and Republicans. So that's why no one wants it to come out. But who knows? We can't speculate too much. Let's see what's in these transcripts as they come out and see if that is enough for Trump's base to be satisfied. I doubt it, because he made such a big deal out of it in the election.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've just got to wait on that one. Meanwhile, back here, Michael, in the Mirror, I mean. I could scream. Serious water pollution up 60% last year.
Yep, so this is the Mirror looking ahead to a big report into the water industry that's going to come out next week. And as you say, it finds staggering examples of pollution, 75 examples where what was being polluted into the water system was so dangerous it could have caused, serious harm to those of us drinking or swimming in the sea or whatever. And basically the government is going to launch a big plan. They say they're going to tackle this. They're going to abolish the water regulator and replace it with a different regulator that apparently is going to stop this happening.
Better.
So basically they're just changing the name of Ofwat.
Well,
just call it something different and then no one will
They're going to
notice.
change it. They say that it's too fragmented and they're going to give it more powers, apparently, but it's not clear. What's more interesting is they also claim that they're going to stop large bill rises. So obviously we saw some massive bill increases this year. We talked about awful April, and a big part of that was water bills. But what there hasn't been trailed from the government at all is how they're actually going to do that, right? Are they going to invest into the water industry to make it cheaper? Are they going to stop companies like Thames Water paying huge dividends? What are they going to do?
This is always the problem, Lewis. It always comes back to, hold on, you haven't built any reservoirs since the 1990s, and you have paid your shareholders millions, if not billions of pounds now, if you take into account all the water companies in this country. And they're all as guilty as one another.
It's outrageous. It's a disgrace. I mean, the money they're being paid is the real outrage. And as you say, the infrastructure. The thing that really gets me is, why have we got these massive net zero targets of these pie-in-the-sky things when this is actually something fixable?
Yeah.
Like, this is causing ecological collapse. So actually, focusing on this and saying, you know what we're going to do over the next 10 years, we're going to get our water in order, rather than try and hit some net zero target. Where's Extinction Rebellion? I mean, this should be where they put in their effort, where it could actually pay off a little bit.
Something a bit more tangible.
Yeah.
But he said they're all as bad as each other. Of these serious incidents, there were 2,801 last year. This is in England. Just in England. Thames Water, Southern Water and Yorkshire Water were responsible for 81% of that. So it would be blooming Thames Water, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well...
The ones who are now charging, their 50% increase.
Yeah, well, Thames put their prices up the most, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely...
But let's hope it is more than a name change with Ofwat, and let's actually hope that someone can hold their feet to the fire on this and actually get some change, because it's gone on for too long now.
The Thames Water are blaming it on excess rainfall.
Too much water for Thames Water.
Too much water for Thames Water. Yeah, meanwhile, there'll be a hosepipe.
I think there was a hosepipe ban right next to this story on the page.
Hosepipe ban, haven't they?
There's too much water and not enough water at exactly the same time.
Marvellous. Good trick.
I'm not in my nature a big fan of renationalisation per se. But I seriously would look at it. I mean, honestly, I know it would cost a lot of money to do,
this is
but
the problem.
something
You've got to buy them out.
You've got to buy them out.
And I often say with this particular government, at the moment, the way they're going, even they admit they're not covering themselves in glory, you wouldn't trust them to run a bath. So would you trust them to run a company that supplies that bath water?
All right, Michael, in the Times, Russian spies have been unmasked.
Yeah, so a bit of a scary one, this, but I guess success for our security forces. The Foreign Office have basically released this list of people who they say are Russian agents, and they've taken out various sanctions against them, you know, freezing their bank accounts and things. That won't actually affect the actual, you know, the spies themselves, because these are people that are not in Britain and they're unlikely to come back to Britain. But it's us saying to Russia that, look, we know who you are and we know what you're doing. What scared me about this story is when you hear about these spying things, you sort of assume it's like cyber attacks and things like that. But the Foreign Office actually said it's not just cyber attacks. This has included covert bombings and arson attacks. So this is stuff that, you know, really is endangering people, you know, putting lives at risk. So good news that the Foreign Office and our security service have identified these people and, you know, seemingly are doing stuff to stop it.
Honestly, it's that Cold War all over again. Let's just finish off with the Sun, Lewis. And
don't you dare look at me, Stephen Dixon. Do you dare look at me?
So,
Eyes right.
Gangster Gran. So this is Gangster Gran, who's nicknamed Queen Bee, has headed a family drug network which has flooded the UK with almost a ton of cocaine in just 7 months. It had a street value of £80 million, and while she was at it, she was claiming state benefits of 50k. So she had multiple streams of income.
Why wouldn't you?
Now, the interesting thing is she's 65 years old, she's been given 20 years in jail, which to me seems like a proper sentence, but I do sometimes think, well, but we have rapists and murderers that don't get that long. But she has been naughty, she has been very bad.
Yeah, a bit more than naughty.
Right, a bit of cocaine now.
I mean, I can't wait for the documentary on this. I think the documentary will be fascinating.
It's going to be a film, isn't it? Before you know, it'll be a Guy Ritchie film. Got it all over it.
So the drug operation, which was composed almost entirely of women.
Yeah.
Dawn.
That's why it was so successful, apart from getting caught. Apart from getting caught at the end, obviously, which is obviously down to a man, I suspect, at some point.
And they say part of her motivation was for a cosmetic trip to Turkey.
Yes.
Fund that. So she had to take wages from other people in the gang to pay for that particular holiday.
Well, she had some appetites here. She's got these rare cats she's bought, a Gucci collar for the cats. Like, she had an expensive lifestyle.
I mean, it just beggars belief, doesn't it? But if she was having to steal other people's money to pay for a bit of plastic surgery, then profit margins work. She can't have been a very good businesswoman. No, profit margins weren't right.
She doesn't say here in the story, I want that money back as a taxpayer. She better be paying this money back.
Yeah.
Well, the 50k in benefits she clearly didn't need. We
so I want that
back.
Yeah.
I want to know what's happened to the cat, to be honest with you.
All right,
Lewis
lovely, you
Michael,
two.
thank
Very
you.
good to see you. Thanks
very much.
Right, shall we have a look at the weather for you? Here's Alex.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of warnings in force this weekend, with heavy thundery rain pushing their way in, including an amber warning across parts of the southeast through this morning, where we could see almost 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. So that brings the risk of some flash flooding, some difficult driving conditions as well. That heavy thundery rain is pushing its way northwards as we go through the day. So across parts of the Midlands, eastern England, into northern England and southeastern Scotland as well, we have the risk of some intense downpours. Elsewhere, some drier, brighter weather, but also a scattering of showers. And whilst temperatures on paper are down several degrees compared to yesterday, it is still going to feel pretty warm and humidity is high as well. Then as we go into this evening, while a lot of that heavy showery rain in the south will have pushed its way across parts of Scotland, particularly central and eastern parts. Aberdeenshire likely to see some heavy downpours later on. Across Northern Ireland, a scattering of showers to watch out for, perhaps a little bit dry towards Belfast in the east. Meanwhile, across northern England, very wet for some, particularly across northeastern parts. A slightly different story further south, across the Midlands, Wales, southern England. There'll be a few showery outbreaks for a little while yet, but also something a little bit drier than earlier on in the day. As we go overnight, kind of two areas of wet weather across Scotland, staying quite wet at times, and then heavier rain pushing in from the southwest as well. In between, though, something a little bit drier, perhaps some clear skies, but because of that high humidity I mentioned, temperatures not dropping much. Another pretty muggy night for many of us, a bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Then as we go through tomorrow, still more rain across eastern Scotland in particular, some high totals continuing to build up, and elsewhere we will see more of that showery rain feeding in from the southwest. Could be heavy, could be thundery again, with some more persistent heavy rain likely to affect some southwestern parts at times as well. Temperatures down a couple of degrees again, but if you get any bright or sunny spells, still feeling pretty warm.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
French authorities first seized the Lady T, and that's an Eastbourne-based fishing vessel. And next, they fined its skipper, Philip Edwards, €30,000 to release his boat. Now, the Lady T, operating legally under UK jurisdiction, was intercepted by a French patrol ship near the Somme Bay. Now, the incident has sparked massive outrage among British fishermen and is renewing calls for the government to stand firm against French overreach in national waters. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joining with Charlotte Edwards, who's the husband. Husband Philip is the skipper of the Lady T and is out fishing right now. Charlotte, welcome to the show. I've got to say, here at GB News, we are hugely supportive and appreciative of British fishermen and fisherwomen. Do a fantastic job. So if you're nervous about the interview, please don't be. I want to ask you how on earth this happened. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, for example, that the Lady T didn't have the correct paperwork, it was fishing illegally, and the French decided to pounce. What's the reality?
The paperwork just slipped through. It was an admin error. The other two boats had the permits, and unfortunately, his didn't at the time. He wasn't in as far in as they said he was. He was about 800 metres in their water. He wasn't near the 12-mile.
He was intercepted by the Pluvier. That's a French Navy ship. No, by the way, the sort of French Navy ships that just seem to give an escort to illegal dinghies coming into British waters, suddenly pouncing into action. The only boat they've managed to stop seems to be the Lady T.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. Afghans being resettled in Britain are reportedly bringing over 20 relatives each, including some previously refused asylum.
The fallout from that catastrophic Ministry of Defence data breach continues, with 3 UK-linked Afghans reportedly killed by the Taliban in just the past week.
Meanwhile, here the cost of living crisis rumbles on. Reports suggesting fuel duty could be frozen again.
But as Kemi Badenoch warns, Britain is stuck in a doom loop of rising taxes. It is all further proof of a government that's just lost the plot.
Understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
President Trump files a $10 billion lawsuit accusing Rupert Murdoch, the Wall Street Journal, and 2 of its journalists of defamation over an Epstein-linked story.
And over 23,000 small boat migrants have already crossed the channel this year. And GB News has uncovered a surprising new tactic used by the people smugglers.
Crazy!
Now, the little blighters have stopped play at Lord's. They've sent beachgoers running. Now, swarms are heading inland. We'll find out what's behind this great ladybird takeover.
It's a Lions summer, and today the heat turns up for Andy Farrell's side as they face the first test this morning against the Wallabies of Australia in Brisbane. At the Open, Rory McIlroy stays on the coattails of the leaders, and it's fight night for Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk, and in excess of 90,000 fans at Wembley Stadium.
Lots of heavy thundery rain, lots of warnings this weekend. The risk of some flash flooding in places. I'll have the details coming up.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Gen Zers are getting ruder.
That's not possible.
Apparently.
They were literally born rude, that generation.
Oh!
Controversial, I'm old, I can say that.
Well, I go on about them a bit, but I do feel a bit guilty sometimes because some of them are lovely. However, this is in the Express this morning. Apparently, they won't say, if they don't hear something, they won't say excuse me or pardon because they think it's too formal. So they're likely to say or you what?
What?
Apparently.
Oh.
Or come again. If come again's not too rude.
No.
No, it's, I mean, but...
But
Surely the question is, can they vote?
Controversial. Straight in there with a political comment. The other thing that they did this week, right, is they refused to queue.
What?
They think queuing are old-fashioned.
Unless you're in a pub, when they form an orderly queue to the bar rather than just going to the bar.
Yeah. The one place you're not meant to queue, by the way, Zoomers, is in a pub. That is elbows and everything.
Yes.
That's just getting to the bar.
Wave your
Especially
tenner.
at football grounds, Aidan McGee, in the old days, eh? God.
I know, now it's not so expensive. But no, when I went to a birthday, when I used to go to birthday parties as a kid, my mum used to say to me, or go around to my friend's house for dinner, Mum always used to say, make sure you offer to do the washing up. One of them took me up on it. One time. Maybe want that.
But I always used to say thank you. You go to a party or a school.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's polite. Where's our what happened to our manners, Dawn Neeson?
Good. I've got good manners. I was brought up proper, I was. No, good manners and writing thank you letters. Does anybody even write thank you letters now?
See, I've got to say, I don't do thank you letters. I do get them off my sister-in-law, does a lot of thank you letters. But, no...
I often say to you lot, thanks for having me. Don't I?
At the end at the end,
Yeah, you do, yeah.
But you never say you're welcome.
No.
No. Or it was a pleasure.
I do mean that. I'll say that in future. I'll change it up.
All right.
Oh, that's lovely.
So anyway, there you go. It's my little rant over, but
But you can join in the rant, gbnews.com/your say. What do you think? Are Zoomers getting ruder? Are boomers better?
Boomers better. There you go. Right. Now, let's move on to new questions over the Afghan resettlement scheme following that major data breach by the Ministry of Defence.
Yeah, it follows reports in The Telegraph that one migrant has brought over more than 20 relatives, including some who have previously been refused asylum.
Meanwhile, the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, is accusing the government of pushing Britain into a doom loop of rising taxes, with families paying more for less.
And sticking with the economy, there's fresh speculation that Rachel Reeves is preparing to freeze fuel duty again this autumn in what's being described as a key part of Labour's cost of living fight back.
Let's talk to political commentator Aman Bogal. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks
for having me on the show again.
Oh, you're so polite.
Can you write it in a letter, please, Aman? Thank you very much.
So polite. Look, what do you make of the Afghan situation?
Well, look at it this way. I think I would say something very simple. I said, look, these people knew exactly what they were getting into when they helped ISAF forces, when they helped British forces during the conflict in Afghanistan. And they were very well recompensed for it. Now that I would argue that the West took a very cack-handed geopolitical decision to withdraw from Afghanistan and let the Taliban back in. They find themselves in a difficult position. Of course they do. But the solution is not to bring a single one of these people into the UK. Certainly, a lot of them will be a national security threat. More importantly, I would argue, with illegal migration...
Forgive me, why would there be national security threats if there were people who we were legitimately employing over there?
Well, because, as we saw with this one particular case, if you're allowed to bring in 22 further members who were not in active duty of helping British forces, well, how do we ascertain who they are?
Yeah, but that's a different... I mean, so shouldn't we be monitoring more carefully those people we do bring over, being more careful about who they bring with them?
So how are we, first of all, let's break this down a bit. How are we bringing these people here into the UK? It's not direct flights from Kabul or Kandahar. It's primarily via Qatar and via Pakistan. So my policy would be that, look, we ought to be helping these people readjust to life in Pakistan in the safety of what is an ally of the British establishment. We give Pakistan £132 million a year in aid. This has already cost us £8 billion. Well, why not help them settle in a place where it's far more culturally compatible with these people than bringing them over here into the UK. We have enough of a problem with mass illegal migration across the channel, with mass migration itself. We do not need more people coming into the country. It's a perfectly safe place for them to be staying in Pakistan, which already hosts hundreds of thousands of Afghan refugees.
It's an interesting point, and lots of people are making a similar point, Yaman. I mean, there's 100,000 supposedly at risk of death currently still in Afghanistan. The figures are a bit vague. That's basically the population of Cardiff. So if we brought those people over here, you were worrying earlier on that there might be a cultural clash between people coming from Afghanistan, especially the attitude towards women and girls.
Yes, exactly.
And settling them in this country.
Well, indeed, you cannot simply pick up someone from the middle of Mazar-e-Sharif or Kandahar and expect them to assimilate, I don't know, in the middle of Derby. It simply does not happen. However, you can expect them to assimilate and have a safe and dignified life in Peshawar or in Islamabad, where culturally they're far more similar. At the same time, this is not about Britain turning its back on its responsibilities. I would also argue in the same way in that, for example, the Gurkhas who serve in the British Army, who serve in the Indian Army, from Nepal, those are people that fight for king and country and should be and have been allowed to come to the UK to retire in many places. And of course, they are allowed to bring in their families. I would campaign for them, and I have, because they're culturally compatible. B, they have a long track record of loyal service to the king and Britain, and those are the type of people that we ought to be helping in their time of need, not people who knew exactly what they were getting into at the time. Look, this is a bigger geopolitical failure, and let's not forget the part that the ISI in Pakistan played in helping the Taliban take over Afghanistan after the withdrawal of Western forces. They are the real ones who should be held to account for this debacle.
All right, let's have a look at what's happening over here right now, away from how much it's going to cost us to bring more people over. We are struggling for cash. We are strapped for cash. Whoever's fault it is at this stage, I'm beyond caring at the moment. But it's what we do about it, and we're screwed. Basically, aren't we?
Well, Britain is in a tight spot. And I think that's underplaying it a bit on the words when it comes to balancing our national finances. I mean, but at the same time, this doom loop that Kemi Badenoch has mentioned of higher taxation and more spending and more taxation is an unending, bottomless well that we cannot keep throwing money into. Things has to change. Something has to change. And of course, a few years ago, that's exactly what Liz Truss tried to do with her premiership by taking on the orthodoxy of the Treasury and the senior establishment within Whitehall.
But she did it in the wrong way.
Well, some people...
everything was a shock, and the markets need warming up.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. I mean, look at it this way. The gilts today, the bonds today are in a far worse place than they were under Liz, and yet Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer continue to occupy number 10. So where's the consistency in that when it comes to the markets and when it comes to the city, when it comes to of the establishment elite in the Treasury. But more than that, I mean, look, I think the British people have had enough of being paying through the nose. I mean, let's look at fuel duty itself. Yes, frozen for the 15th consecutive year, but we're still paying 60% of every litre we buy at the pump is taxation. It's simply unsustainable. And let's also not forget, as EVs come in higher numbers...
That was my point, Aman. I mean, in 5 years' time, diesel and petrol cars and new sales will be banned. So that 24 billion that we're currently raising from fuel duty, there's going to be another black hole to worry about.
Indeed, and the solution here is, Dawn, I think, to bring in more private sector involvement in terms of looking after our road network, building more road network that we need. I've just come back from India, and I was amazed at the development that's going on in terms of motorway building. They're building about 10 kilometres a day.
Wow.
In terms of adding to the road network. Now, my question is, why aren't we building the same here? Or at least getting rid of the big pinch points. I mean, I remember back in the day, and I say back in the day, this was only, 2014, when David Cameron announced a big, at the time, £300 million fund for getting rid of the big traffic pinch points. And those are the type of initiatives we ought to be taking. And let's not...
But it's how we fund it. I mean, there's an argument to say, well, it's sort of capital investment, and therefore it will create jobs, and it will boost the economy and all these sort of issues. But it's a gamble.
Well, I would argue, Stephen, that the way you fund it is by enabling growth. And the way you do that is you bring in productivity, you lower the cost of doing business, you lower the cost of getting things from point A to B. And that means that you enable that plumber and that carpenter and that joiner and that bricklayer in that white van to be able to fill up their van to get to their point of work far cheaper than paying 60% of that litre in taxation.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it's that counterintuitive thing, isn't it? It's like the flatter taxes argument, where you have to say we will charge people less, but we expect there to be an increase in revenue. But it's that who is ever brave enough to do that in politics?
Well, we saw that when George Osborne reduced the top rate of tax very early on in the first few Conservative years, and we saw tax receipts skyrocket in terms of how much tax was coming in. And of course, that's a very common thing. You know, people want to keep more of their hard-earned money, and that's the only right way to do this. We see it in Argentina with Milei. Look at how he's turned around the Argentinian economy in such a short time. We see that with Modinomics in India. Right now, in the last budget in Delhi, they abolished income tax for an equivalent income of about £41,000 a year in terms of purchasing power parity. So about £12,000 a year equivalent for the average Indian worker. And that's enabled the average Indian family to pay zero income tax. Those are the type of things we ought to be doing. Growth. It's the only way we get the country back on its feet.
We were promised that growth, weren't we? It just appears to be the growth of the debt that we're all in at the moment.
Yeah. Indeed.
Aman, thank you very much. Just
Thank
want
you,
to say lots of love in the room for you. Cheryl messaged in, Aman, 3 cheers for you. So, yeah, lots. And another message here from Henry, which is a good point, lots you're agreeing with. There's all these Afghans in so-called danger. What about them fighting for their own country?
Well, indeed, somebody's got to fight these Islamists.
Aman, thank you very much. Strong words there indeed.
Right, well, sticking with the immigration theme, more than 23,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel so far this year. Hundreds arriving just yesterday morning alone.
GB News can also reveal that smuggling gangs are believed to be taking advantage of the thick sea fog we've seen recently to launch multiple boats into the UK waters under that poor visibility.
Well, international security and border control expert Henry Bolton is back. Henry, good morning to you. I mean,
morning.
Do you know what I'm fed up of talking about? I am fed up of talking about the small boat crisis because the numbers go up and up and up every year. Everyone says they've got a plan. Nothing happens. So what do we actually do? What are the options here?
Steve, if I may very briefly, I'll answer that question, but address something that Amar said. The Afghan thing, a lot of people don't realise there are 2 schemes. And this is important because the first scheme, a little while ago, we had this conversation about Afghan interpreters and so on who worked for the Brits who were in danger with the Taliban regime, so we'd bring them back here. I had serious reservations about that because in a previous part of my career, I did human counterintelligence work, digging out foreign sort of operators who'd infiltrated local national employee networks to pass intelligence back to various authorities and governments and rebel forces. I dealt with this in Helmand myself. Most of the army officers who campaigned to bring people to the UK, I understand that, but they were not involved in the counterintelligence element. I was. I know firsthand a lot of these people were passing information to the Taliban. Ideological support plus coercion because families were threatened. So there is that. And this list of people that was released are people who were, even in those circumstances, denied entry to the UK under the first programme. So these are people who were denied entrance to the UK because they did not have any right to come here, because they didn't work for us, or they'd worked with the Taliban. So now we're letting them in because that data was released and therefore they're in danger. It was perceived that there's a duty of care. I think this is entirely wrong. But it's important to recognise there are two different things.
Yeah.
What do we do about the small boats? I normally present this the other way round, but let's start in the UK rather than the point of origin.
Yeah.
In the UK, we must, as we said earlier this morning, make the UK less attractive a destination. As long as it's attractive for people, they will come. And as long as they want to come, criminals will facilitate that movement. There's no question of that. So we've got to make it less attractive to be here. What we need to do, just wave top, detain every single one of them behind wire, ideally somewhere like Ascension, so that there is no motivation to come to the United Kingdom. Point one. To do that, we do need to leave the ECHR. We do need to repeal, or at least seriously revise, the Human Rights Act, and we probably need to leave the UN Refugee Convention. All of which we need to do now. I'd have rather reformed them. I'd rather reviewed them, amended them a few years ago. It's too late for that because nobody dealt with this problem back then. So now we have to be more dramatic about it, more drastic about it, and leave these things. Then we've got to deal with our own border architecture. I've worked with 57 countries on their maritime and other borders at a national level. We have the most incoherent, siloed approach to managing our borders of any one of those 57 countries. And I can take you through Central Asia, Albania, the Russian Federation, Canada, the United States. We are the worst. We are the least coherent in the way that we manage our border agencies. We need to bring all of the border agencies...
Why are we the worst?
It's just historical, and it's a failure of leadership in government. And I mean, that's the history is a long subject, but we have at least 8 different government agencies patrolling our maritime borders in the Channel: pollution control, air sea rescue, border force, and so on. You go to Finland, go to Iceland, go to Canada, go to the United States. All of these functions are under one organisation.
Right.
So, which creates immediately cohesion, unity of effort, unity of training facilities, procurement of equipment and so on. All of that is there. It's like our present situation is like having a police force in, I don't know, a city or town in the United Kingdom, one dealing with road traffic issues, another one dealing with fraud, another one dealing with assaults, another one dealing with whatever it might be, all working out of separate police stations, all with different equipment, all with different training and so on. And different legislation, all answering to different government departments. That's the situation we have on our national borders. We talk of border force, but we've got all these other functions going on out there as well. So pollution control, pollution monitoring...
Border force seems to be a taxi service at the moment.
Well, that's how they're...
in the middle of the Channel and bringing them here.
Yeah, but that's because we failed on the other side of things. So we need to bring coherence to our own border architecture. That includes legislation. And then we've got the upstream problem. We've got the European Union, which is, for all sorts of reasons, failing to stop migrants getting into the European Union. We need to work with Brussels on that. We left the European Union to take control of our borders because Brussels controls a great deal of what happens on the external borders. Well, we seem to have forgotten that. The French don't have carte blanche sort of authority to manage the border between France and the United Kingdom. That is largely Brussels. Just think back to that argument about controlling. So we've got to deal with Brussels on this, and we could be exercising leadership on behalf of the EU member states from outside by saying we all need to get together, which we couldn't do inside the European Union because of the way that the consensual approach works. We could exercise that from outside and say, let's all put together a programme to reduce the risk to the European Union. And then finally, we've got to recognise that organised crime has a role throughout this whole process, including soliciting the movement of these people from their points of origin. You know, a guy bounces over the desert in his old, you know, sort of 30-year-old Toyota Land Cruiser with his gold teeth and his fake Rolex watch, saying to a little village, sell your goats, give me the $5,000 that you get, and I'll get 3 of your young lads over to Europe where they can earn some money and send it back to you. See it as an investment for the village. This is, I'm painting a sort of fairly sort of theatrical image of it, but this sort of thing is rife in Sudan, Somalia and so on.
But the problem is,
then
with
they come
that
here,
is because it's smash the gangs and all that sort of rhetoric, it's playing whack-a-mole, isn't it? Because so long as there is a demand...
Then it will be met, as I said at the beginning. But I think that there isn't... what we've got to do is all of these things concurrently. What every government has done is it's taken the sort of public outrage over one thing and addressed that. And it's been reactive. Reform's idea of putting the Navy in the Channel. What did we see at one point under the last government? We saw a couple of destroyers or a frigate or two in the Channel and a transport aircraft flying along the Channel. It's reactive. What we need to do, and what we lack in this country, in all areas, not just borders, is serious strategic leadership. And if we had that, you'd have a leader, a prime minister, you'd have ministers who could actually see this big picture from start to finish and have the acumen, the skills to address and bring coherence to government policy and unity of effort across government throughout that entire chain process. And not just in borders, but in policing, in healthcare, in education and everything else. It's a failure of leadership in government.
You paint a very good picture.
Absolutely.
I just moved to a pipe dream, unfortunately.
With leadership, it's not. We don't have leadership.
Political will, like we've seen with President Trump and the southern border in America. He's managed to bring a halt to that illegal migration in such a short amount of time.
All right, you two.
Henry and Aman, thank you very much. Yes, indeed. OK, well, that's strong words there. gbnews.com/your say. Let us know what you think. But now we're going to talk about the weather, because that's not quite as painful. And hopefully it's not painful. Hopefully it's not raining. Here's the details with Alex.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of warnings in force this weekend, with heavy thundery rain pushing their way in, including an amber warning across parts of the southeast through this morning, where we could see almost 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. So that brings the risk of some flash flooding, some difficult driving conditions as well. That heavy thundery rain is pushing its way northwards as we go through the day. So across parts of the Midlands, eastern England, into northern England and southeastern Scotland as well, we have the risk of some intense downpours. Elsewhere, some drier, brighter weather, but also a scattering of showers. And whilst temperatures on paper are down several degrees compared to yesterday, it is still going to feel pretty warm, and humidity is high as well. Then as we go into this evening, while a lot of that heavy showery rain in the south will have pushed its way across parts of Scotland, particularly central and eastern parts. Aberdeenshire likely to see some heavy downpours later on. Across Northern Ireland, a scattering of showers to watch out for, perhaps a little bit dry towards Belfast in the east. Meanwhile, across northern England, very wet for some, particularly across northeastern parts. A slightly different story further south, across the Midlands, Wales, southern England. There'll be a few showery outbreaks for a little while yet, but also something a little bit drier than earlier on in the day. As we go overnight, kind of two areas of wet weather across Scotland, staying quite wet at times, and then heavier rain pushing in from the southwest as well. In between, though, something a little bit drier, perhaps some clear skies, but because of that high humidity I mentioned, temperatures not dropping much. Another pretty muggy night for many of us, a bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Then as we go through tomorrow, still more rain across eastern Scotland in particular, some high totals continuing to build up, and elsewhere we will see more of that showery rain feeding in from the southwest. Could be heavy, could be thundery again, with some more persistent heavy rain likely to affect some southwestern parts at times as well. Temperatures down a couple of degrees again, but if you get any bright or sunny spells, still feeling pretty warm.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Yes,
Right, 9:25. Let's have some cash. Should we put it on the
Yes,
table,
please.
Dawn?
Yes. Here you go.
£54,321. It could all be yours, and as a man knows, totally tax-free. If you want it, here's how you can enter.
We're here at Down Hall in Essex to enjoy the finer things in life, and it's your chance to win £54,321 in cash. It's like having an extra £1,000 in your bank account each week for a whole year, which means that you'd be able to indulge in treats whenever you wanted to. That extra cash each week could send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing this year to enable you to sit back, relax and do nothing. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck indeed. Yeah, that would make you have a wonderful summer, unless, of course, you are being plagued by the ladybirds from hell. OK, bit of tabloid spin, but they are taking over and they're coming to a garden near you soon. All of that coming up. Don't move a muscle, you don't want to miss it.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Should we be paying more for the BBC, do you think?
Yes, in the short term. It's for a cost of a cappuccino a week. You don't only get all the television channels, you get all the radio channels, local news, you get the websites, you get World Service, a significant amount of that. You've got a vast range of things. It's not just a television licence. And the BBC licence fee, in real terms, has gone down about 40% in 15 years. What I think we need is two things. One is an immediate increase, significant increase, so we stabilise the situation.
Go on, how much, Roger? What's the fee?
Hold on.
Well, tell me how much.
Then, secondly, hold on, we need to have a proper debate publicly about whether we want public service broadcasting, how we want to deliver it, and how we want to pay for it. The BBC has cut as much as it can. We should now have a public debate about what we want.
OK. All right, the BBC's cut as much as it can. I mean, grief. I would love to try to see the BBC try to operate on the kind of budget.
I thought you were chairman, objective chairman here. It was a head-to-head with this lady, and you were going to be an objective chairman.
Yeah, well, you decided not to answer any of my questions. But anyway, June, I'll put this one to you. Well, what do you think about the money?
Yes.
June, what do you think about the money being paid for the BBC? Should we pay more?
In 2020, you lost 80, let's have a look, 80,000. And then by 2023 to 24, that went up to 500,000 licence fees not being paid. That's because they don't want the product. A lot of the reason is the bias side of the news, which is why people watch GB News. The programme making, I can understand the creative part of it, but what you've got to look at from the public's point of view is they pay their licence whether they're using all those facilities or not.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Just before we get into this next bit, Monty Don, you know the gardener Monty Don?
Yes.
He's been posting on Instagram about cucumbers, right? Apparently he likes it, but no, I'm tempted by this and I don't know why. So he's been cooking cucumbers, slice them, fry them in butter, and then add cream and oregano, I think, and serve hot.
OK.
And there's a picture of it, and loads of people are going, sounds disgusting. I think it looks really nice.
It does sound... It looks very green. Well, I know it's cucumbers. I know they're green before. Tell me. I know I'm rubbish in the kitchen, but... No,
oh, yeah, you're not a kitchen...
I know I'm not a kitchen person. No, just... I mean, you
I think I'd like to try that.
Well...
I'm just
saying. Get the cucumbers ready at home.
I can... Well, no...
It's not a very...
8. Where's camera 8? I don't know where camera 8 is.
No.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is, look.
Yeah.
It looks quite tasty.
Monty Don looks good, but it's a green mess.
No, I think I quite fancy trying that.
Well,
anyway,
that's your afternoon sorted.
Yes.
Those nights must fly past.
Go away.
Darling, get the cucumbers out.
Right, now, Brits are apparently in some cases, being forced to take shelter in their cars as thousands, well, there have to be millions of ladybirds descend on the UK.
Yes, experts say this is the largest sightings, I remember this, since the famous ladybird invasion of 1976. And as you can see behind us, we've got some really scary-looking ladybirds on screen. If you're listening on the radio, you should imagine they're fanged beasts from hell.
Fanged people? They are vicious creatures,
They can be. The ladybirds behind us actually look like kids' wallpaper in their bedroom, to be fair.
It's all down to the hot weather. Let's talk to ecologist and ladybird expert, Professor Helen Roy. Helen, good morning to you. What is going on? Why are we seeing this invasion?
Oh, good morning. Well, I just want to challenge your thoughts around those ladybirds. They're absolutely stunning and they're really beneficial to us. You know, they're fantastic. They're the gardener's friends, they're farmers' friends. They eat lots and lots of pest insects and they're an absolutely stunning insect. But what's going on is we're seeing huge numbers of them, and that's something to celebrate. We're seeing that they've emerged from the winter months in really, really good numbers, and they've woken up from the winter to find lots and lots of green fly to feed on. And then the warm weather has allowed them to get really rapidly going through their life cycle, and that's why we're seeing so many. It's a story to celebrate.
Helen, are all ladybirds the same? Because I remember a few years ago there was a warning about an invasion of foreign ladybirds, not coming over on boats, they were just coming over here. And they were upsetting our native ladybirds. Am I making that up, or is that a thing?
We have about 50 species of ladybirds in Britain. So that's 50 different types of ladybird that we see in Britain. And there's a whole variety. Back in 2004, the Harlequin ladybird was the new species that arrived. And that species does indeed pose a threat to some of our other ladybirds. However, we get lots of other new arrivals that are absolutely wonderful to see. And the Harlequin ladybird indeed is a very beautiful ladybird as well. And also eats a huge amount of aphids.
So why are we panicking over all of this? Because I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, if you saw a ladybird, it was always a nice thing. One of the few insects you'd quite happily have walk all over your hands or whatever it does. So why do you think we're panicking now?
Well, there is definitely no need to panic. They are wonderful to see. And what would be really fantastic if people could record their sightings to the iRecord platform and contribute their data through citizen science. That would be really fantastic. You know, these are little insects that are just having a very, very good year. And like all insects, they are really important to us. We must look after them and we must really nurture them because they're what makes our natural world work.
So, Helen, the weather we're having at the moment is perfect for ladybirds.
The weather is fantastic for ladybirds at the moment because it's really warm and they're able to go through their life cycle. So they go from being an egg to a little larva to the adult ladybird via the pupal stage very, very rapidly. So this weather is really excellent for them.
OK. Helen Roy.
Thank you, Helen.
Really good to see you. Very good to get a nice spin on that because I don't think our next guest is too thrilled. Wedding planner Kellyanne Page, who joins us now. Kellyanne, good to see you this morning. And what did you make of what the professor had to say? Because it's not been good for business, has it?
My goodness. Helen, I agree with you. Ladybirds are lovely when there's maybe one or two, but what I experienced last weekend was absolutely biblical. It wasn't pleasant at all. When we arrived, we went to the beach at Weston last Sunday, and we arrived and there was two on the car. And even then I thought, that's odd that there's two ladybirds, because it's quite rare that you see them. And like Helen said, they're quite nice once you do see them. However, when we started making our way towards the sea, there were swarms of these things. They were absolutely biblical. Not only were they just landing, they were flying around in the air, so they were just hitting you in the face. I had one go in my ear, they were going in people's mouths. It was so unenjoyable.
And did they nip you at all? Because they can nip you, I think, can't they?
Oh my God, they bit my back. So I've heard that they're not the traditional ladybirds. They're ladybirds from Africa. Right. And they've come in swarms and they bite. It was to the point where you couldn't even enjoy an ice cream because they were sticking to your ice cream. We attempted the beach. We got on there, it was quite busy. Dare I say, I got in a bikini and it was just a complete waste of time, because as soon as you lay down, they were everywhere, literally everywhere, in your hair, all over your clothes. So you have to run to the sea because they don't like the water. So that was like a safe space for me. So we ran into the water and then attempted to go back out, and it was just, you just couldn't enjoy the day at all. The beach was clear by the afternoon.
And Kellyanne, as you're a wedding planner, no bride wants to walk down the aisle in a white dress with ladybirds all over. Is this seriously affecting how you're planning weddings at the moment?
Absolutely. I mean, we get it with wasps as well when we have wasps at weddings. With ladybirds, yes, they're not as harmful, but they're just a nuisance. When they're in hundreds of thousands, you can't do anything. You can't have the photos because people are wafting them away. Of course, with a bride with her white wedding dress or all over her wedding dress. It's not great for weddings or any events at the moment because there are literally just swarms of them.
All right, Kellyanne, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. I mean, look, you can see how it's a bit irritating and all that, and I guess it wouldn't be very nice. But however, if it's what we need, if it's very good for the country, eating all the green fly and a key part of our ecology, then you've just got to say.
And it is a very good way. You can actually buy ladybirds. I know you can buy them and put them in your garden. They do eat the green fly. So they do good things. But I do remember 1976, and I do remember them being a complete and utter pain in the bottom, and everywhere else they expected to land as well. However, we have approached. Obviously, we've been not.
I can't believe you're reading this.
But because I can have some fun. No,
we'll be on Have I Got News for You with this.
This is a man that's sitting in front of a backdrop full of kiddie ladybirds. Right, any case, we haven't been nice about ladybirds this morning, so I would like to say that GB News has contacted a ladybird for comment, but they are yet to get back to them.
I'm going. I'm too embarrassed that we're doing this. I mean, I'm getting...
Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. Don't go too far, because coming up next, we have got Aidan McGee with the weather and possibly some more insects. I don't know. Any case, no Stephen Dixon, so yay! See you soon.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
For working class families, what are the fundamentals that they are looking for? They're looking for good housing, they're looking for good schools, they're looking for good jobs that give them a fair day's wage for a fair day's graft, they're looking for a strong NHS, and they're looking for safe communities to live in. When you have all of those foundations in place, then it means that children, young people, they can flourish, they can do well alongside their parents and their grandparents. And I think if you look at what this Labour government has done. We're 10 months into a 5-year programme here, by the way. But in the first 10 months of this new Labour government, they have put major policy reforms in place across all 5 of those key foundations for working class families. And so I'm confident that we're starting to see some of it here in Basildon, where Basildon is starting to get better again. I'm confident that by the end of this Parliament, because of what the government is doing now, we will start to see some positive changes for working class families.
OK, Christo, what do you make of it?
I think that Bridget Phillipson makes a very fair point when she says that white working class families and those peoples are being left behind. But unfortunately, her actions as Education Secretary don't align with what I believe are these completely hollow words. So, for instance, we've seen white working class boys particularly, but now girls, falling behind in education for absolutely years. So why Bridget Phillipson would then bring in a policy that is seeing, by the latest figures, 13,000 private school pupils entering the state school system, why on earth she would bring in that kind of policy, whilst then having the audacity to say that she's worried about white working class pupils not doing so well, is beyond me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
All right, Aidan's here with the sport, 9:42. What do you want to kick off with?
Should we start with a bit of Open? Because it's underway now, the golf.
Oh, right, yeah, OK.
It is, and I'm looking at Rory McIlroy's prospects. He seems to think he's confident of giving it a good day 3 and day 4. Let's hear from him in a moment. But I just think that with him being 7 shots back, I think it's really difficult now. And I think he didn't tee off yesterday very well. His short game was still quite good. But to me, I wouldn't say he's lost his hunger, but I just don't think that when you've admitted that after winning the Masters back in April, I don't think at the elite level of sports even that it's easy just to decide when to pick it up again.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of people around you trying to win and trying to achieve what you've got. The world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, out in front at the minute just by 1 shot away from Britain's Matt Fitzpatrick, and he looks every inch the worthy bearer of that status of world number 1. But nonetheless, as we mentioned, McIlroy believes he can make it interesting in these final 2 days.
Yeah, another solid day. Couple under, improved a little bit on yesterday. Hit it in play a little bit more off the tee, which was nice to have some looks, out of the fairway and into some of these greens. And yeah, it was a good day. I feel like I maybe could be a couple closer to the lead, but yeah, overall, in a decent position heading into the weekend.
Yeah. So a bit of pressure there because it's his home tournament, but he didn't make the cut, Dawn, last time in 2019, so there's an improvement on that. He's out today, I think, about 10:35 this morning.
Right, OK. Usyk Dubois tonight.
Yes.
Wembley.
90,000.
It's going to be huge.
It is. I think it's actually 96,000, actually, yeah.
Pedant. It's still a lot of people.
An extra six means a lot. But no, let's look at it in its entirety. The story goes back a couple of years. Dubois fought Usyk. There was a controversial body shot by Usyk into what we thought was the navel or the belt line of Usyk. That's how most people saw it. That's certainly how I saw it on the day. It doesn't mean that he would have lost, but that certainly looked to me like a fight end or contest ending blow. The referee on the day, maybe there was some privilege attached to the fact that Usyk is he has all-time status now. Even then, he was looking at somebody who wasn't far off earning that kind of accolade. But nonetheless, it carried on. It wasn't deemed to be a knockout, and Usyk went on to win the fight. So since then, though, Dubois has fought Filip Hrgović and won that. He absolutely dismantled Anthony Joshua. 4 knockdowns in 5 rounds last September at Wembley. And understandably, as Frank Warren, I think, was going to tell us last hour, he feels like a renewed individual. He feels like he's a little bit bigger, he's better mentally, he's preparing better. And I think that man you can see in the picture there, Usyk, knows he's going to be in for a fight tonight. He understands that he's going to face a different Dubois tonight compared to the one he fought 2 years ago. But nonetheless, I've seen nothing, Stephen and Dawn, to suggest that Usyk has lost any of his magic, his dexterity, his hand speed, his movement in the ring, his ability to wear down his opponent. And that's why...
Well, yeah, but this is... I mean, Dubois has got to go in with the punches fast,
I think he's got to get him out of there quickly. I think that's his best hope. I'm not saying that Dubois can't go the distance, but I think that if you are looking to go the difference with someone like Usyk, Usyk will probably prevail over the long term. I'm going to take Usyk to win on points. I think it's going to go the distance.
You're not very good at tipping that, but this is unifying all 4 belts.
Yes, astonishing.
Make it really simple for everyone to understand what's going on.
Yes, it will, yeah, until one of them loses it, yeah, which maybe not too far down the line. But look, Tyson Fury could be waiting in the wings as well for the winner of tonight's fight. I think there's just about might be appetite for Fury versus Usyk 3. They served up 2 magnificent fights in the first 2. But Daniel could throw a spanner on the works tonight if he wins, and equally exciting would be Dubois against Fury. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, would be.
What else do you fancy doing? Quickie?
Let's keep on with the sport. What about the British and Irish Lions in Australia?
Yeah, 11 o'clock this morning underway at the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. I can't see. There's been lots of hype around this, lots of interest, as if we're making it into a contest. I don't see how the British and Irish Lions can lose today, to be quite frank, because the Australians are not what they were. This is not a vintage era. All Scottish midfield as well, lots of Irish in there. No Welsh players in there since the first time in 129 years. A bit of a smack in the face to the nation, but it probably reflects the fact that they've done absolutely nothing at international level in the last 3 years or so. But look, I would fancy apart from Wales, I would fancy any of the other 3 nations to beat Australia today individually. So when you have the collective together, even allowing for the fact that it's on Australian soil, even the Sydney papers are saying that it's going to be a whitewash. So don't be surprised if the British and Irish Lions do it this morning, and we'll be covering it tomorrow, Stephen. You know we will.
Look forward to it.
In my diary, with an alarm set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aidan. Yeah, OK. Well, should we talk about holiday sunshine? Jetting off, because I understand it's raining outside at the moment, so if you are lucky enough to be jetting off somewhere to, Europe, basically, here's the holiday forecast. Where are you going?
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Lots of blue skies and strong hot sunshine around the Mediterranean at the moment. There's going to be a bit of a breeze blowing, however, this weekend, especially for Crete and Cyprus. Maybe 1 or 2 showers inland across Turkey, but again, most of the coast's dry and sunny. Same goes for Italy and much of southern Spain, along with the Balearics and the Canaries. Also set fair. Temperatures in Tenerife close to 30 Celsius. We'll have highs here of 29 for the next few days and similar temperatures in Barcelona.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've got a real treat for you this morning because coming up on Saturday Morning Live, it's Charlie Peters. Yeah, well, he's always...
Yeah, whatevs.
Yeah. Olivia Utley.
Yay, go Olivia.
Good morning.
Good morning, so nice to be here.
I can't believe you've been off for so long.
I know.
We've missed you, but you won't have missed us very much because you've been so busy with the baby.
I've been having a lovely time with the baby. I think Charlie's worried I'm going to burst into tears on the show because it's such a long time away from him. But I'll try and be brave, and it is very nice to be back.
There's a picture.
Oh, here we go. Now it's already started, hasn't it?
No. That's him in the towel basket.
What's his name,
Olivia? Wilfred. Wilfie for
Little
short.
Wilf.
He is so lovely. Oh my God, this is amazing.
I was just saying to Olivia during the break that he is the smiliest baby I've ever seen. I've never seen a picture of him looking miserable, but at the moment, however, he's at home with your husband and
he's being a little bit grumpy. And my husband says he's exhausted, so that's nice to hear.
Is that quite satisfying?
It is very satisfying.
He's grumpy when you're not there.
Yeah, exactly.
Olivia, being a mum suits you. You look absolutely stunning.
Oh,
most
thank
gorgeous
you so
outfit.
much.
And it's so good to have you back. It really is.
Oh, thank you.
And we do have a great show coming up, by the way.
Not all about
It's going to be a fabulous programme. We've got Saturday Morning Live with Olivia, but also we will be focusing on this Afghan migrant scheme. The controversy rumbles on. More details coming out last night. We'll also be debating that votes at 16 debacle and debate coming up quite shortly. We have got a great report from Anna Riley on bedroom tax as well, which is going to be very interesting for a lot of our viewers. So stay tuned. That'll be coming up shortly.
It sounds
What do you make of the 16-year-old votes, Olivia? Because I mean, it's been rumbling around for a long time. It's it's all in place in Scotland for stuff they do. Do you think it's going to happen, obviously, but do you think it'll be popular?
I mean, I think Labour might not quite have realised what it signed itself up for, because, yes, it's true that traditionally in this country young people are quite left-wing, but actually at the moment they seem to be going to the extremes. They're either going to Reform or they're going to the Greens. They're not interested in the mainstream parties. So it might not be the win for Labour that Keir Starmer seems to think it is.
But it was in the manifesto. It's one thing they've actually stuck to that was in the manifesto as a thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's going to be interesting to get whatever guests you've got on to talk about the Afghan situation, because it's complex.
Absolutely.
It is complex. All right, you two, we look forward to it.
Have a
More
great
baby
show.
pictures, I hope. All right, let's get a check on the weather for you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, here's your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of warnings in force this weekend, with heavy thundery rain pushing their way in, including an amber warning across parts of the southeast through this morning, where we could see almost 100 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. So that brings the risk of some flash flooding, some difficult driving conditions as well. That heavy thundery rain is pushing its way northwards as we go through the day. So across parts of the Midlands, eastern England, into northern England and southeastern Scotland as well, we have the risk of some intense downpours. Elsewhere, some drier, brighter weather, but also a scattering of showers. And whilst temperatures on paper are down several degrees compared to yesterday, it is still going to feel pretty warm and humidity is high as well. Then as we go into this evening, well, a lot of that heavy showery rain in the south will have pushed its way across parts of Scotland, particularly central and eastern parts. Aberdeenshire likely to see some heavy downpours later on. Across Northern Ireland, a scattering of showers to watch out for, perhaps a little bit dry towards Belfast in the east. Meanwhile, across northern England, very wet for some, particularly across northeastern parts. A slightly different story further south, across the Midlands, Wales, southern England. There'll be a few showery outbreaks for a little while yet, but also something a little bit drier than earlier on in the day. As we go overnight, kind of two areas of wet weather across Scotland, staying quite wet at times, and then heavier rain pushing in from the southwest as well. In between, though, something a little bit drier, perhaps some clear skies, but because of that high humidity I mentioned, temperatures not dropping much. Another pretty muggy night for many of us, a bit uncomfortable for sleeping. Then as we go through tomorrow, still more rain across eastern Scotland in